Thank you.
Welcome back, guys. New Cow Corner. Got another one for you today. You know how I like bringing on guests that I feel are making great contributions to the hobby, people that are producing some wonderful animals, some people that are contributing in other ways, whether it's, building relationships, starting conversations, just putting great content out there. And I feel that Scott, our guest today, is one of those people. So without any further ado, let's welcome Scott. Scott, Miami Art
Yes.
Geckos. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Well, how'd you get into this? How did Scott become Miami Art Geckos?
It can be a long, confusing story.
Hey, got nothing but time.
Obviously, I guess like most people that have geckos, I'm an animal freak, and I always loved animals. I just couldn't have them when I was a kid because my mom was not an animal freak. My dad grew up on a farm. My mom kind of did too, but she didn't want animals in the house. So I had to actually kind of hide them. I got my first snake when I was 12.
Snake stories, Scott and the snake stories.
I wasn't going to really do the whole thing, but I guess you heard it already. Um, Basically, I got a snake when I was 12 years old because I used to walk to school, and I had to walk uptown. My parents' town has this one traffic light, and I went past this pet store called Gearhart's that actually, in today's terms, would probably be closed because it wasn't a very good pet store. It always smelled really bad, and the cages were really dirty. But it was a small family-owned one, so I used to volunteer on the way home from school and to clean
Nice.
cages because I mostly just felt bad, and
Nice.
it felt like they were kind of my pets because I couldn't have them at home. And one day, the guy offered me a snake that continuously had stuck shed, and I took it, but I didn't know where to put it because I can't have pets at home. So I ended up hiding a snake for years in my parents' attic. Um, my bedroom was actually up in the attic, so it was kind of like a closet, not really an attic, but you had to go into my bedroom, into the closet, and then there's a little tiny door in the closet that went into like the attic. And in the attic, there was this cubby hole, and I've set up all this electrical so I could put heat and lights, and I had a hamster, some gerbils, and the snake. And
That's awesome.
I had them there for years.
How old were you when you started doing that? It's
I mean,
amazing what children will do, right, to get something they want. Because we've all done it. I've done it myself too. You got to sneak something in the house. You got to hide the enclosures. Like it's comical now that we're grown. We can do whatever we want. But
before that, I actually had like um, a couple hamsters, a couple gerbils. They occasionally got out. So I remember once the gerbils got out and got in the wall behind the refrigerator, and my dad and I were like taking off the drywall to find out what it was. I knew it was going to be a gerbil because I was missing a gerbil, and I had to play stupid when my dad found a black gerbil. Like, what in the hell is this? Like, I don't know. Where'd it come from? I don't no idea. I think my dad finally caught on after a while because we had a hamster that got loose and got all the way from my bedroom was on the second floor, went into the basement and had babies in the shower. And of course, my mom is the one who found it. She told my dad some mouse had babies in the shower, and I knew right away. And I ran downstairs, and there was my hamster.
did you get to get them? Did you get the babies and raise
I
them?
got him because I told my mom I was going to rescue them and take them and throw them in the woods, which they went back upstairs. But
That's
she,
awesome.
she thought they were mice, and I released them.
That's awesome. Not for nothing, real quick, to anybody out there that's watching, if you should have children and they show an interest in animals, maybe you should help them. Let the kids explore something. I came up with this theory, and this probably sounds just basic, but there can never be any true success if you never present opportunity. We have to give our kids the opportunity to really explore some of their passions. You never know who the next Steve Irwin's going to be, You never know who the next Jacques Cousteau's going to be. I mean, yes, kids run through phases. They like thing one week, they don't the next. But if your kids are showing a strong enough interest in an animal to where they're hiding them under their beds and they're doing these things and taking care of them without your help, imagine what they could do with your help. Let's
Amen
get
to
our
that.
kids involved.
Amen to that. When I'm vending shows and I see parents with kids and the parents aren't really into reptiles, and they'll tell you they're not really into reptiles, but they're just there because their 10-year-old son or 12-year-old kid is into reptiles. I want to go hug them because
That's awesome,
I
right?
picture me as a kid. My God bless my mom. She would never ever taken me to a reptile show, let alone let me buy one. So it's kind of nice. I love when I see
Times.
parents doing that for their kids.
Hell
As
yeah.
long as the kids take care of them, I'm
Hmm.
all for that.
And it's learning. It does so much more than just,
Of
a
course.
kid keeping a reptile. I mean, you know what it was like. You're going to grab anyone our time, any book we could find. I used to drive around from vet to vet asking if they could print me pages from their books. Like, it was crazy the things I used to do to get information back in the 80s. And that was learning. You're learning, about geography, history, all types of, climate, weather. You're learning so many things to take care of these animals that, again, we should seriously encourage that in our children,
Exactly.
especially if they're showing an interest.
I was just Miguel and I were at my parents this weekend, and I told you before we were going through the boxes in the attic,
Yeah.
and I had like two boxes of books that were like nature books, about birds, about all kinds of animals, everything. And Miguel's like, "Why did you have so many books about animals?" And I said, "Because there wasn't I'm 60 years old. There wasn't the internet like there is today. I read these books like 5 times. Now, I I kept most of those books, but I don't even really need them because you can find anything you want on the internet like really quickly.
You're
But back
60 years old.
in December, I
No
will be. But back
shit.
then, you
I thought you
couldn't.
were my age. I thought you were 40 years old.
I wish I was,
Holy shit.
but you couldn't find info like you can find today so easily. And I
Nah,
had ton. And thank God, my grandmother that I spoke about before, she knew my love of animals, and she was buying me all kinds of books like.
mine too, man. See, grandmas, man. Damn.
And that love of plants and animals took me through college for zoology, and and after I graduated college, I was a park ranger for 20 some years.
Wow.
So that was all.
What parks did you work in? That's amazing. I didn't even know that about
My
you.
first park was a place in Alaska called Wood-Tick-Chick State Park. It's the
What?
largest park in the U.S. It was 2.5 million acres, but not a single road. It was all complete backcountry. I lived in a cabin most of the time, but it had no running water, no electricity. But I mean, I was 23 years old. I was loving life.
In
It was like
heaven,
the
right?
coolest thing. I had to actually go in the lake to take showers because there was no running water, and it was cool. One of my funniest stories from there was we had to carry a gun everywhere we went because of the grizzly bears,
Uh-huh.
which never caused any problem to me, but you had to have them just in case something happened. And I saw many grizzly bears, and none were ever scary, except one time when I went to go use the outhouse, that I forgot to bring my gun because I was just going to go to the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
But the outhouse was like 50 yards from the cabin, and when I went to sit down, it had like double doors. You can close the bottom part and leave the top open. But I didn't close anything because I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody there but me, and right in the middle of sitting on the on the toilet on the outhouse it was plywood sitting on it. Um, a grizzly bear walked up probably like 30 feet away and laid down right in front of me and went to sleep. And literally for like an hour, I was scared shitless, thinking that this bear was going to wake up. All these things keep running through your mind. Like, am I supposed to scream or yell? Do I just let him wake up and walk away? I mean, they tell you to yell, but he was so close. I thought if I scared him, he's going to
Well,
just like
right?
pounce
Piss
right
them
on
off.
me.
What do you do?
Do I just like, I just sat there for literally like an hour. I got so many splinters in my ass, literally, because I was sitting on plywood. I sat there for like, it was probably like an hour. It might not have been as long as it thought, but I sat there for a long time. He eventually just got up and walked away. But that whole time I was sitting there, I kept thinking all these things in my head like, he's going to wake up. He's going to kill me. I'm going to fall inside this hole and nobody's ever going to find me.
God,
What a way
it's
to die.
a real thing, right? There's some terrible stories about. There was a pretty popular book. I believe they made a movie about it. I read the book where the kid travels across the country, moves out to Alaska. He winds up getting hurt or got attacked by a bear and then wind up dying in a mobile home or something out there, and
Oh,
they found him.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name, but I remember something
It
like
was a
that.
famous book. It was a popular book, and then they made a movie about it. Yeah, I can see it in my head. I can see the title.
Yeah, me too. Now I can't remember.
Have
But
you
after Alaska, I moved to California. I was in Point Reyes, and I went to Zion National Park, Yellowstone,
Zion?
Tetons, Bryce, Capitol Reef, Arches, Canyonlands,
Oh man!
Shenandoah, Smoky Mountains, Everglades. My
So you
last one
got
was
to
the Everglades.
explore all of these places. Like, you were hiking, and this was your job. You got to
That was
explore
my.
all these
I mean,
parks.
obviously you have to like the outdoors and like animals to do this kind of job,
That's
but
my
it's
dream
almost
job.
it's like you get paid to be on vacation. It
That's
was nice.
literally my dream job. If I could pick anything in this world and I make good money, I don't care at my age about the money anymore. If I could pick any job to spend my days, I would be a park ranger. Hands down, without a doubt, that's exactly what I would do.
You're gonna laugh at me, but my dream is when I retire in a few years, I want to be a campground host. And because
That's
all you
cool.
do is literally pull into the campground, you live there for 6 months or so. People knock on if they have any questions or need any help,
Uh-huh.
they just knock on your door. But otherwise, It's fairly easy, and then that's the best way to like explore. Like you can go to Zion and stay there for 6 months, and you can hike every single trail they have. Normally, when you go on vacation and go to a park, you go there for like 2 or 3 days. You hike
Can't
some
ever
of the
cover the
the,
park.
the popular trails. You don't really get to really see like all the other stuff behind the scenes, and
That's
I can't wait
amazing.
to retire.
Hiking's a big part of my life. I have a dog that's my world. I never had kids, but my dog, I have a stepdaughter, but my dog is sounds ridiculous to a lot of people. My dog is my whole world. My dog is everything I live for. And we all we do is hike. We do nothing but hike every weekend, usually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're at a different park. And I travel hours. I just get in the car, me and my dog, and we go hit another park, mark it off the list, and that's it. This summer we're going to do 19 miles on the Appalachian Trail.
I did the whole thing.
Did you?
Yeah,
I would love
but
to.
not one. That I can't say I did it in one time. I did it in like two different years.
That's cool. A lot of my buddies did the same thing. They did sections, but they ultimately completed the whole thing doing the different sections. Did you, when you were working at these parks, how did you get around? Horseback, or did you have like a vehicle, cars?
I'm on horseback. Like in Alaska, there was no roads. Everything was by boat or by snowmobile. I had to actually order my food on a CB radio. I don't even know if they have CB radios anymore. I had
Drop
to
it off
actually
an
order,
airplane.
because remember this is 40 some years ago. I had to order food on a CB radio, and they would fly it in a plane, and drop it in a parachute into the water. And I had to go out, and most of it was like dried MRIs, like they use in the
Uh-huh.
army, and dried fruit and powdered stuff. I could get cold stuff, and because I could just keep it in the snow, I had no
Yeah.
refrigerator.
Yeah.
But you got so used to that stuff that whenever I came back into civilization, making apple pies with like real apples wasn't as good as like the dried fruit. You get
Right.
so used to it, and you get so used to powdered milk when you start drinking real milk again. It was almost like cream.
I
Your
bet.
body
I
just
can
gets
only
used to it.
imagine. Oh. So how did you? I'd imagine working in Alaska, in a place like that, you have to be pretty savvy with survival techniques. No, like where did you learn all that? Something you just picked up as a kid? Is that something you learned in school? Where did you learn how to
I had
survive?
some in school, because one of my courses in college was a 6 week class in Pennsylvania in the Allegheny National Forest, where you had to learn like a lot of survival skills and do stuff on your own.
Okay,
That helped me a lot. It helped me a
awesome.
lot because in Alaska, I mean, I had a cabin. I wasn't like
Yeah.
outdoors, but cooking and stuff, I still had to make fires,
Did you
and
have a wood stove in there? Like a
I had a
cast
wood
iron
stove.
wood stove?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's like literally a freaking dream, man.
but
Did you see any wolves out there?
a
Did
lots.
they have wolves out
Yeah,
there? They
yeah,
did.
lots.
Dude, and no pitch so old, you probably didn't technology, no pictures or cameras or anything, huh?
Ironically, I had my parents. Yeah, my parents gave me
Really?
a Canon camera, one of those big cameras,
Huh?
when I was going there as a present to go there. And my second week I was there, I was with another guy. We're getting trained. We're in training, and so we're on. Do you know what a bog is? A
Like a
bog is like
swamp?
floating sphagnum moss that you can
Yeah.
like walk on, but there's like a creek going through it, and we were on a flat bottom boat going through the bog, and we went on a turn, and there was a moose, and to avoid hitting the moose, we hit the side of the bog, and the boat went up, and then it went over, and I was in the water, and I ruined my camera. The ironic thing about that whole story is once I stopped thrashing around and being scared to death, there was a moose right in front of me. The water was only like 3 feet deep.
Gonna
I
hate
could
some
have stood up the
stories.
whole time, but so I didn't get a whole lot of pictures because my supervisor on one of the heard about it, and so in one of his when they dropped the food, he dropped me a couple disposable cameras, but they don't. I mean, at least I have some pictures, but they don't really take
Yeah, right. At
good
least you have
pictures.
something, man. I mean,
Yeah,
those are things. I'm sure it's nothing to you because you did it, but I mean, that's like people's dreams, Scott. Like you lived, like you worked at all of those parks. You know how many people out here wish they could just go to Zion alone? Go and hike through Zion. Like,
I tell you what, the first time I actually drove to Zion, um, I cried. I cried
really?
like a baby because again, remember, there's no internet like we have today. You can look up Zion right now and see like all these amazing pictures. I had a book that showed like some pictures, but it doesn't. It was like a 40-year-old book. It doesn't show. It was color, yeah, but it didn't show like you don't have an idea what it really looks like. And when I drove in there, I couldn't believe there was places like that. And it
It
just
almost
have you
out
ever
of this
been?
world, right?
Have
No,
you ever been there?
Nope, but I have two
What?
cousins that have. My cousin Zach and my cousin Samantha have both been there, and I am a jealous son of a bitch,
I
boy. I'll
literally
tell you what.
cried when I drove in there. But visitation there is like
Unreal.
crazy. Like now, if you get there, there's lines. When I was there, it wasn't as busy. I mean, the internet made all the parks like super super crazy busy. Um, which kind of takes away a little bit when you have to go to a park and
Yeah,
you sit in line for half
yeah.
an hour just to get inside.
It's
It's like you're at Disney or something. And it
yeah,
wasn't like that when I was
gives
there.
me a
So
very
it's
commercial feeling. It's
yeah.
what are you gonna do? It's still I get it. It's something that's worth standing in line and seeing, I suppose. I never seen the Grand Canyon either. Believe it or not, I have
Oh
three
really? I
brothers. They
worked there
all went.
too.
Never went.
I worked there too, but when I worked there, I worked on the North Rim, not the South Rim, and I worked at Parunaweep, which is at the bottom of the Grand Canyon most of the time. That
Shit.
was
So when you're a park ranger, are you technically working for the government? Did you work for the government and bounce around from state to state?
yes,
That
yes.
is freaking cool. Are you doing that? What are you doing now? Why did you stop doing that?
Um, my last job was in the Everglades National Park, and
Been
I
there.
took a job
Awesome.
there that was basically setting up a recycling program, and I took that job. Federal positions you have to apply to, and you have to adhere to what it says. So it was a 6 month position, knowing that after the end of the 6 months, I was going to get my old position back. But you can't just get your old position back; you have to apply for it. But it was understood that that's what was going to happen. So I took the job because it was setting up a recycling program for Everglades, for the parks in Washington D.C., um, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and of course I wanted to go to all these parks for like a couple. I mean, I'd worked there before, but to go back for a couple weeks designing a program was cool. But at the end of the 6 month, Bill Clinton was president. He put a hiring freeze on all federal positions, so I couldn't go back to my old position because I couldn't even apply because there was a freeze. So
Hmm.
all they did was reword my position from designing a program to running the program. Also, I literally was driving around in a truck in the Everglades in a garbage truck, picking up the garbage. The program I designed, they still use it now. It has like 4 garbage cans. One's for garbage, one's for glass, one's for plastic, one's for aluminum. But you can imagine how it gets. There's people that go there from Germany or who knows what. But anyway, it's inevitable that in the aluminum is going to be like a dirty diaper, or there's going to be a half-eaten cheeseburger in the glass. So I would actually have to go to a place and dump out all the garbage on a table and sort through it. So here I am.
Really?
There's not even a building, and the Everglades is swampy, so it's full of mosquitoes. It's 90 degrees in the summertime. I'm standing there with gloves, sorting the aluminum with dirty diaper shit in my hand and a mosquito on my face. I mean, all day long.
Can
And
lead to
after
a mess.
literally after a few months, I was like, I can't. I'm a garbage man. I can't keep doing this. And they predicted that the freeze is going to be like a year or two, and I was like, I can't stand outside for a year or two with shit on my face, literally. So I was already a veterinary technician also
Oh
certified. So I
shit.
started working for a veterinary technician, which ironically, I applied for a job from one of my friends who was a perfusionist for liver transplants. And I applied for that job and got it because I knew the instruments. They never asked me what I actually did. They gave me a test on instruments in the surgery room, on instruments and all the medications. And the medications for animals is the same as the medications for people.
I
It's just
hear.
different dosages because it's by how much you weigh, by kilograms or whatever.
Here.
And so I knew all that, and I knew the instruments, and I got the job. They didn't even know for like 10 years that I actually worked in a veterinary clinic. And they're
Hey,
like, "Why didn't you tell us? You never asked me."
I commend you, dude. You gotta, I mean, not that I'm saying you faked it. You knew the information, but fake it till you make it. You gotta play the part, man. Like your life's on the line, your livelihood. You gotta make some money. Yeah. So how did that? Is that what you still doing that? You still doing
No.
that stuff?
That got to be so stressful because I did it for 10 years, and then I retired because after 10 years you can get vested. Actually worked for the University of Miami.
Oh
Um,
shit.
I stopped because it was hard because my job was actually I would get a call and it would say we have a liver for you, and it's in New York. You need to go there right now and remove it. So my job was, I'm happy because I know you because you've been a patient for like months, and we've been trying to get you a liver, and now I finally got you one. So I'm excited. But now I have to go to New York and tell somebody's mother of an 18-year-old kid who just died in a car wreck, who's brain dead, who already he's already signed the papers that they went, but I still have to, can we please hurry? How do you say that tactfully? Can we please hurry? Because the longer your son is on the machines, the less likely his liver or his organs are going to work when they're transplanted. So you're immediately faced with like, oh my God, like it's a whole different situation. I left being really happy. Now I'm like, how do I like be nice with you and me to get them to like sign off to pull the plug, which sounds really crude, and it is kind of crude, but after I just get so like, it's too emotional.
That's a double-edged sword, you know. You know, save a life, but you got to take one to do it, or you got to. I mean, that's.
So at
I
the
mean,
same
you're not
time,
killing anybody. I mean, you're technically not doing anything. I mean, your objective is to get the organ to save the patient. I mean,
it was
you
stressful.
got an emotional life, brother.
But at the same time I was doing that, because I worked 12-hour shifts, I would work 4 days one week and 3 days the next. So I would have off 4 days one week and 3 days the next week. So I
Yeah,
had a lot
that's
of spare
awesome.
time. And one of my good friends owned a pool business and said they were going to go out, they were going to retire soon. Did I want to get interested in that? So I started learning how to build pools, maintain pools, change motors, and all that stuff. And I bought their company and then quit. And I also work at Home Depot.
Shit, big money in Florida.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
that
in
is.
Miami. Pool.
I work at Home Depot also full time, but
Oh
at home.
shit!
But at home. So it's kind of nice on the
How do
computers.
you do that? I'm a carpenter. I live my life in Home Depot. It's like an
Um,
everyday
well, if
stop.
you ever have any big orders, call me, because I can go into your order and give you a discount.
No
Should
shit.
I say
That's
that
pretty
online?
cool.
Um, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's from home. So basically, it's customer care when people have
Okay.
problems. Um, or if you go to HomeDepot.com and you see that little chat button pop up, sometimes
Yeah.
that comes to me.
Really?
But it's cool. I mean, I need my benefits, because
Uh-huh.
here's the other part of my how to get into a reptile story. All those years that I worked as a park ranger, I had a dog and I had a cat. My dog's name was DOG, DOG. My cat's name was Mrs. CAT. Um, People always ask me how to spell them. That was the funnest part. But anyway, I couldn't really have like a lot of reptiles, because
Yeah.
I literally put everything in my car and moved to the next park. So I didn't have like a lot of stuff. And 2018, I was working at Home Depot and I was working in the stores then. I started having problems breathing. And I went to some lung doctor. I went to the emergency room for Baptist Hospital. They told me I need to go see a lung specialist. I probably had pneumonia. I went to see a specialist. They told me I had asthma. But I remember going in there and they were doing like my pulse ox, and I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about
Yeah.
that stuff. I mean, I worked in a hospital, but my pulse ox was 77 and they were freaking out, and that it was really low, that I needed to either go to the emergency room or take this breathing test with steroids to see if I can get my oxygen level up to 90. It took like 3 times to get my level up to 90, but I was like, the steroids were making me shake really bad. But who wants to go to the hospital, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I did that and I went home for 6 months. They kept treating me with steroids and different antibiotics, because the antibiotics would work at first, but then it would get worse. So every time I would get new antibiotics, I'd get a little bit better, but then it would always end up worse than I was the time before. And eventually got so bad that I literally couldn't even walk to the bathroom without having to sit there for like a half hour to get my breath back. I went to the emergency clinic again. They told me to go right away to the emergency room, that I had severe pneumonia. I went to the emergency room and sat there for like an hour. They sent me home and said that I was okay, that I just needed to wait for the shot the emergency room gave me to work. 2 days later, I was back in the emergency room and my blood oxygen level was 57. Later, I found out that I should have been dead. I didn't know what 57 meant. It was just really low. My body had just gotten used to my oxygen level getting lower. When I walked into the emergency room and they tested me, they kept changing their machines because they thought the machines were broken. They intubated me and I was in the ICU for 5 weeks, and then the regular hospital for 3 weeks. I was in the hospital for a total of 8 weeks. And after I left the ICU, they came and told Miguel and I that Miguel stayed there every single night except for one. But the day I left the ICU, the nurses and doctors came in. They had like they were all clapping when I left the room,
Yeah.
told me that I had less than a 5% chance to even live. But they never told, and I was kind of mad that they didn't tell me that in the beginning. But then it made sense. They told me that they don't tell you that because your brain is probably the most powerful medicine you
Just
have.
gonna
And if I
say,
would have thought
yeah.
I'm supposed to die, you would probably die.
Would have
That
quit.
I never
Yeah.
thought I was supposed to die. That kept me going okay. But anyway, that whole time I was in the hospital, I had nothing to do. And now I had a cell phone because they were, and I was watching Tiki's videos and all kinds of videos and all kinds of shows, programs like yours, um, on all kinds of reptiles. And I just couldn't wait to get out of the hospital to start getting back into my snakes or other reptiles. Um, I
Hmm.
still don't have a snake because I have a fear of snake from my story from way before. I don't know. You probably heard somewhere. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I
Guys,
started
if you
watching.
haven't seen it already, Scott was on one of David from Tiki's Geckos uh, videos. Go check it out. Hilarious story. We'll get into it later, but you'll see. Just go and check out the video with Scott and Quincy from Gecko Nerd from on David's page on Tiki's Geckos. Man, check it out. Great video.
My mom saw that video, by the
I was
way.
just gonna ask you.
She saw it like 3 weeks ago, and she called me back and said, "So you told these people you had a snake in the attic, and and Donna, who was our neighbor at the time, bit you. Where did you make these things up?" I was like, "Mom, I really did have a snake in the attic. You can actually go in the attic and look right there. You can still see the enclosure. It's still there,
No
and
shit.
you can still see blood on the floor because it was a wood floor. It wasn't finished or anything. You can still see the red spot on the floor." And she went up and looked, and it
That's
wasn't a
hilarious.
lie.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Oh my god. So
But
what?
anyway, the whole time in the hospital, I just watched Tiki's videos, and as soon as I got out, I got a couple leopard geckos, and a couple turned into like 20 right away, and then it's crested geckos and two or three. Who has two or three crested geckos?
Nobody.
And it just went from there.
Nobody for longer than a week. So I'm curious, what was wrong with you in the hospital? What happened? Did they ever tell? What was the diagnosis?
Yeah,
What was going on?
it was pneumonia. It was pneumonia,
Really?
but
Did that to you or hit you that bad, huh?
well, because apparently because they gave me steroids and different antibiotics. I was on I think 12 different antibiotics in 6 months because they use so many different kind of antibiotics. It
Suppressed your
makes
immune system.
it makes your it made the strain of pneumonia I had super strong that nothing was good. It took they had to give me chemo medicine for malaria
You are
to
so
get rid of my
lucky.
pneumonia because my pneumonia got super strong because of all the antibiotics. So it wasn't that it started out like super strong; it's because it was created with all the different antibiotics. If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. Like you are very very lucky. I mean,
They
I'm
weren't
no
giving me.
doctor,
I
but
was never diagnosed with pneumonia until I actually got intubated. So they were treating me with antibiotics for asthma. So it was just making my pneumonia worse the whole time.
medical malpractice. I
Stronger.
was watching this crazy show the other day, but the statistics were mind blowing on how many deaths are actually related to misdiagnoses, improper treatments, and I mean the numbers, Scott, were like how I like how is it even real? Like I actually meant to fact check it, I guess, if you will, because the number had me that like
Dude, when I was in
how
the hospital,
how
when I was intubated, the first doctor I had, we're friends to this day. He actually told me so many, well, not so many stories. He told me that I have to always be careful when I go to a doctor and check everything, and because of what you just said,
mm,
and that he explained what happened to me, that they had treated me for the wrong thing. They weren't treating me for pneumonia. So the antibiotics were never strong enough for pneumonia, but it made my pneumonia stronger each time they would give me these different antibiotics.
they're
And
damn
I'm
near
thinking,
killing you.
okay, well, are they going to kill me here? I mean, because you're all doctors too. Yeah. And
Well, amen, man.
like a little,
I'm glad you
I'll
made
make
it.
this part really short, but because of the steroids they gave me too, like when I went home, I walked home from the hospital. They told me I was going to be an oxygen the rest of my life. One day I just took it off and I'm okay now. I get winded if I run, but otherwise my oxygen level is normally like 94, normally we're like 98, but I'm doing good. Like 6 months out of the hospital, I started having shoulder pain. And I finally went to the doctor because I thought it was just because I sleep on my side. It turns out that all the steroids they gave me as well caused your blood vessels can cause blood vessels to die in your joints. And when the blood vessels die, the bone disintegrates. So I had to have my shoulder replaced and both shoulders and both hips replaced. All because of that whole mess up from the very beginning. And that all took
Oh my
place in
god.
1 year. I had surgery for my shoulder. 2 days before my shoulder, I suddenly couldn't walk. Miguel had to push me to a doctor's office in a wheelchair. And then when like doctor was getting x-rays, Miguel and I walked into the room and she was crying, like tears. And I was like, what happened? And she told me that the same thing was happening here was also in both hips and probably was going to happen to my shoulder too. So I had to have all them replaced.
And how long did it take? Obviously, you didn't do it all at the same time, but how long did it take for you to recover? My
It
boss
was
had
like a
shoulder
year.
replacement. It took him fucking
It was
four
like a year.
months to get over one shoulder.
It was like a year. But I have to say, the hips are easy. The shoulders, in my mind, I mean, they told me that to begin with, but I'm thinking, no, my hips are going to hurt. I have to walk on them. I don't have to use my arm. I can use the other one. No, the shoulders are a pain in the ass. The hips are, I don't want to say a piece of cake, but they're easy.
You know,
Like
not
you
for
can walk.
nothing,
The
when
next
I've
day you get a
seen
hip
them on
replacement, you
YouTube,
can
I've
walk.
watched them do hip replacements. It's terrifying. It's terrifying to watch them
Oh,
do hip.
I asked the doctor to videotape mine to get the videotape. I watched one of them. I didn't watch the other one because my one leg was broken 3 places by my hip, and I mean, thank God you're asleep because they actually like they use like this big hammer thing and poke this thing that's like
Hammers and
no lie like this
saws
long and yeah.
How'd you break your leg? How'd you get your leg broken? A moose in Alaska?
No, my leg no. Okay, my leg didn't break. My leg was from the where the bone disintegrated. It had fractured in 3 places, but I was still walking on it. I didn't even know.
So
And
how you
actually, when they
feeling now?
fine,
Got you all put back together. You're like a robo-gecko breeder now.
I'll never get. I guess I'll never get arthritis.
Pretty much, right? Shit. I mean, if you made it through the rough part, I mean,
Then a downside, maybe positive side. Every time I go to an airport now, I get frisked because I make everything go off. I mean,
you
I
would
guess
say something like that.
I don't look old enough to have like all these joints replaced. And they're always
No,
like,
no.
what? Do you have anything here? It's like, no, they're all replaced. I have to take a letter with me. They're all replaced,
It's
and then they
crazy
have
how
to.
young you look and to have all these medical things. I literally feel like even looking out you're my age. I'm 40 years old, 41. Like you literally can pull off your 40 something, dude.
I wish you should see Miguel. He's 57 and he looks like he's 35.
There you go. So God bless you. Hey, thank God you have him, huh? Does he support
Yeah,
the business? Does he how does how does Miguel feel about the reptiles
he
and
hated him
what
at
you're doing?
first. He
Huh?
hated him at first. But he actually encouraged me to get them because he saw me looking at all the videos in the hospital. So he was never against me getting them. He just didn't know it would get to be the numbers that they are today. But now he embraces it. He likes it. He's the one who designs like all the shirts.
That's
We have like
awesome.
4 different shirt designs.
That's
He does
awesome.
all that stuff. He goes to the shows with me. We're going to Flora Fauna next week. He's going to go with me. He's in the
Maybe
beginning,
up there.
he wouldn't touch the geckos, but now he'll like. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but last night I was cleaning the geckos, and I just came back from Pennsylvania, so I was tired. And I was cleaning the babies that are in the bins, and I threw one in the garbage by accident. I didn't even know I did it. And later that night, Miguel came walking in and said, "Are you missing this?" And I was like, "What is it?" And he showed me. It's like, "Oh my god, where was that? In the garbage." Oh shit. Like I didn't even know. So today I had to take the garbage outside, and I went through everything to make sure I didn't throw another one away.
Oh God. I mean, you know how it gets. How many do you know? Some people get weird about this question, and I'm not exactly sure why. But how many geckos do you have?
Yeah, I don't know why people get weird about that too.
I don't know why. I
When I
don't
ask
know
some people,
why.
they
It's
want
like
to know why I want to know, and they won't really answer. And it's like I have adults. I have adult cresteds. I have 70. I don't know the exact number, but I'm going to guess like 70. I don't breed them all. There's like 20 some males and like 50 some females.
about where I'm at too. Yeah.
By adults, some of them are like young adults where they're not like I'm going to say like 8 or 9 are probably young that they're not even being bred this year. 2 are like retired ones, but the rest are all breeding adults.
Oh, so
And
that's super
I have
manageable.
like 4 Sarahs. Um, like
Beautiful Chihuahua. I see. We're going to talk about that one.
four of those.
That girl is
I can't wait till I just paired them up. The male and the female look the same, and I can't wait till they. I got
gorgeous.
them from some. I got them from. Have you ever heard of Geckos on the Hill?
I feel like I have, but
They're in Pennsylvania. I got them from them. I never heard about them honestly until I saw Morph Market, and um, I got them, and God, they've grown up so beautiful. And I have 2 others that I've got from Brian from Sundown.
uh-huh. Those I have. That's my passion is personally Chihuahuas. I have up to 33 of them or something like that now. I have 12 pairs. It's technically their first season. The 12 pairs are running. I've hatched a few that bred and made it first and whatever. I've had probably 6 or 7 babies since December for I don't do a cool down thing, right? Like most breeders will, they cool their animals for the winter. I'm a baby. I don't like the cold. So I don't want my animals to like the cold, right? So I let the room get cooler, I guess, in the wintertime, maybe 68 to 72-ish, but I don't drop it. So my animals never shut off is my point. They never stop breeding. And so I'll have clutches that are randomly, December, January type
I'm the
stuff.
same
It's
way.
weird, but So when I will let rewind a little second. I'm just getting running off here. When did you decide? When did Miami Art Geckos become a thing? How and when did we say this is what we're doing? We're branding ourselves. We're going all sales ahead, vending, breeding, selling. When did all that happen? And how?
It was a slow process because when I first got my first geckos, I never thought I was going to be here right now. I thought I was just going to have a few geckos. I had in my life before, I showed boxers for 30 years and bred them also. I have my last one now. He's 13 years old and blind and almost deaf. But I also showed rabbits and cavies, guinea pigs. I showed them for
Wow.
years and I had a lot of fun doing that. And
What the
um,
hell haven't you done? Holy crap.
so when I,
That's
I started getting
amazing.
the cavies and leopard geckos, I guess one point I can make here is do your research before you buy. I mean, obviously I watched videos a lot of from Tiki's and
Sure.
other people's videos, but I wasn't really concentrating on what I really wanted to get and what morph I wanted to get, et cetera, or what colors. And so when I started buying leopard geckos and crested geckos, I kind of just went crazy buying a whole bunch of hodgepodge of
Everything that
stuff, and
you
I bought
liked.
mostly young stuff because I read that it's better to buy younger stuff to watch them how they grow, which I'll agree. Um,
Yeah,
but I
for
just didn't
sure.
have like I wasn't focused on anything. So I had like well, there wasn't really like a whole lot of morphs. I guess Dalmatians were a morph, and lily whites were a morph for crested geckos. They pretty much said everything else is just whatever it is, and just breed them together, you'll get whatever. I mean, in my dog,
Pretty
I'm no
much.
expert in genetics, but in my dog breeding mind, okay, no, there's genetics in there somewhere. But now it's much different than it was even just 10 years ago. Um, but I wish I did a little bit more research and figured out what I wanted to get and what projects I wanted to do. Now I'm much more narrowed down because I had so many things, and it's hard to be good at anything when you have
Doing a
everything.
lot.
Do you
You're
know what I
right. I
mean?
think it's when greatness happens, when you hone in on something,
Yes. So I
for
kind of
sure.
wish I did that to begin with because I see a lot of people now just like buying all kinds of stuff, especially on Palm Street, and I can't really criticize them because I did the same thing.
We all did.
But just try to figure out what you really want to do and kind of focus on that and buy the best ones you think you can.
We all did it. We all
Anyway,
did
it took me several years. I had them, and then I realized, okay, maybe I should get some kind of name. But I wanted my favorite name in all the reptile world was Lecco my gecko. Have you ever heard of him?
it. Yeah, yeah,
Nick
yeah,
from Tampa that does
yeah.
leopard geckos, and I thought I need a name like that that people
Something
like who
catchy.
can't. You think of Lecco my gecko, it just sticks in your head. You're not going to forget that name. Um, I'm not saying Miami Art Geckos is like that. If I couldn't figure out, I didn't want my name. I didn't really want Miami too much. But then I finally thought Miami Art Geckos because I don't know if you know, but Miami is like South Beach. It's Art Deco,
Been there, yeah.
which is a really unique kind of architecture. But I know that because I live here. I didn't realize later when I picked the name that not everybody was going to know that because they're not from here. But in my mind, I thought everybody's going to know Miami Art Deco, they're gonna think Miami Art Gecko, which is like if you look on our shirt, that's South Beach Art Deco. But
I love that logo too. It's got the whole Miami Vice thing going on. I love it. I love it. It's like
so I came up with a name,
beautiful.
and then I started like whittling away like what I really wanted to have and what I really wanted to do. It's a process, and it changes. I tell people if you figure out you want to do Xanthics today, that doesn't mean you have to do Xanthics in 10 years, but just pick something you
Sure.
like, and don't pick something just because they're cheap, or don't pick something because they sell for an expensive price. Because if you don't like it, what the
Absolutely.
hell? In 5 years, you're gonna hate
Great
it.
advice. Exactly. And these trends change so much that it's you never and I always give people that advice as well is don't chase trends.
You don't
Breed
because
what you enjoy. The loop will come back to you. I promise you whatever you're working on was popular at one point and it'll come back. Just
a lot of the
perfect
trends are
what
hard to
you
catch on
enjoy.
anyway. Like look at Xanthics. I mean, it's still kind of a trend, but you buy them young. Now you're going to be waiting for 2 years growing them up, and then you're going to have babies. It's going to take like a year before you can sell them, and by that time, the trend's already changed to something else, probably. So
God knows what else comes out. You ain't lying.
yeah,
Are you working with the Xanthics yourself? Do you have any
I am.
Xanthics? You are.
I am. But mine aren't.
You have
I
some incredible animals too, by the way. For anybody that doesn't or hasn't seen them, go check out Miami Art Gecko's page. Go check out Scott's page of some of these animals. You will see beauty at its finest. I mean, these animals are perfect, and we're going to get into it. But Scott is literally hand selected some of the best animals and created some of the best animals I have personally seen out of the thousands that I have.
Thank you. It's hard. You know it's hard.
Can you give me 1 second while I plug this damn thing in? Apparently, I'm running out of
You can. I'm surprised
battery
mine
here.
didn't die. Mine's at
I
99%. I'm
thought
good.
I plugged the damn thing in, to be completely honest with you, and I totally skipped my mind. It's super freaking embarrassing.
I do lives on Palm Street, and kind of the running joke on Palm Street is the people will say, "Is your phone charged? Is your phone charged?"
Oh my
Because
god, this is terrible. I've never done this before. First time
I've
for
had 4 or
everything.
5 times while I'm doing a live, my phone dies, and I have to plug it in really quick and hope that the live doesn't really end before I
Oh
get back on.
god. I'm so sorry. This is so
Thank you.
embarrassing.
See how good Miguel is? He saw me sitting here swapping my legs. He came out and sprayed me with mosquito spray.
I'm back. Jesus, I am so sorry. That is so freaking embarrassing. I didn't even notice that the cord wasn't in.
Dude, fine. It's
Right,
fine.
so back to these crested geckos and some of these animals. When you talk, what and when did you decide what you really liked and were going to work on? When did it hit you that you were going to start producing some of these outrageous red animals?
That was kind of from the beginning. I loved red
Me too.
the most from the beginning, but they're also probably one of the biggest pains in the asses. Do you have some reds?
I do,
You,
yes.
you know what it's like? It's hard because they're not born red. Some of them are kind of red, but they're
Yeah.
mostly born like brick red. So you have to hold on to them longer than you would like a normal animal, another animal, another morph. To see it like an xanthic lily white, they come out looking like an xanthic lily white, and I can tell in my mind. I'm still in training, I feel like, but you can tell right away that's going to look good. A red, it takes a while before you realize. And I did a lot of the selling stuff because it didn't look so great, and later it's like, what the hell? Like Quincy has some right now. It's like, shit, I gave you that.
At least it
But
went to him, though,
what's
right?
wrong
At
with
least
me?
it went to him.
Yeah, but
That's got to be a good feeling.
so you just they're harder because you just have to keep them. The breeding isn't the harder part. It's you have to hold on to them longer. And I've made my mistakes where I've thought this pair didn't make the animals weren't that great, and I sold them when the babies weren't old enough to watch, and then later the babies grew up, and it's like, oh my god, what did I sell the parents for? I didn't know the red was going to get like this. So it's a learning curve,
It
but I
sure
loved reds
is.
from the beginning.
It sure is. So what's your goal with them when you're pairing up two animals? What I guess what I'm trying. What do you, if there was such a thing? What would you say the perfect gecko is? What in your eyes would be the, if when you made it, you're like, this is it. This is exactly what I've dreamed of. What does the perfect gecko look like to you?
I think that always changes in my mind
Yeah,
what the
me too.
perfect gecko is. I don't think that because I bred dogs and rabbits and kiwis for so long, I don't think there is anything that's perfect. So it's always kind of changing in my mind. Um, right now I'm into like the hets. I think is where it's at. Like um, a lot of my reds I have 100% hets, 100% xanthics, lily whites, phantoms, empty backs in my reds and in my xanthics. So I'm
Really?
getting some xanthics that are they're not dark like I don't do the dark xanthics. My xanthics come from red animals. So they're actually
Really?
pink fired down, and they get like darker fired up, but they're not black. They still have that. Like you can look at it and see that it still has like a reddish, a light pink hue when they're fired up.
That's
But a lot of my
interesting.
xanthics are either not just xanthics, they're phantoms, lily whites, and empty backs as well. So
We
I
can
think
maybe
a
let
lot
me
of
give you
times
a
they
second here. I'll bring up your page and show off some of these animals because I think people need to see what we're talking about here. These are
right now I'm doing some xanthics with sable, and I can't wait. I can't wait for those to hatch.
you have these animals, Scott, are just like literally. I dream, like, if I honestly, and I'm not even saying this because I'm talking to you. If you could pick any of the popular names on the internet right now of popular breeders, like, and you're in that circle, you take anyone's collection, I would probably take your collection. If I could swap everything and say pick one breeder's collection in the whole game and it's yours, I would choose yours. You have your taste is almost identical to mine. I mean, except for
Do
you're
I have to pay you
producing what
later?
I'm still dreaming of.
Do I have to pay you for this later?
Not, yeah. I want to see some of these animals. I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have any Xanthics. I mean, I would love to. It just always seems like when I'm getting ready, a bill pops up or something, you know?
I
This is
really wasn't into Xanthics when they first came out, and I really didn't want to get into them too much. I had gotten a red empty back from I think it was Jersey City, and I got it because it was a red empty back, and it just happened to be 100% het Xanthic. Um,
really quite a
but
few
for
people
two,
have that
for
had that happen, you know.
I mean,
Just
because
get out of their
I
heads.
really liked the red empty back, and it was a plus that it was a headed Xanthic, and I guess in my mind I was thinking of getting another 100% head Xanthic, but they were so expensive back. This is like 5 years ago. They were so expensive to get an Xanthic. A visual, I think, then was like Brian had him. Altitude Exotics had him for like 30,000, 25. I was like, okay, I can't do that. I'm not that crazy into Xanthics. I got her because she was a red empty back. And I just made a post one time, and I don't know if you know Darren from Firehouse Geckos.
I
He
do,
said,
yeah.
"Hey, I have 100% het lily male, and I don't know what to breed him to. Do you want to do a collab?" And I was like, "Sure, why the hell not?" I
That's
mean,
awesome.
if we have 8 babies, maybe I'm gonna get maybe when we split the Xanthics that she has, maybe I'll get one or two. She had she laid 7 clutches, and we ended up with I think 8 Xanthics. So we got like the odds were like
Luck.
perfect for us,
So, yeah,
and that's
you
how
hit the
that's eventually
lottery.
how I got into Xanthics.
That is luck. That's awesome. I'm happy. I'm glad that it happened to you. Honestly, that's
And Darren, if nobody knows Firehouse Geckos, he was like that. I had never done a collab, but I had done them with guinea pigs, rabbits, and dogs, and they can be a nightmare. You have to like really trust and
how'd you
know the
guys do it?
person.
Yeah, how'd you work it out? Did you have the?
Well,
Did you? What did you guys do? If
I'm
you don't
super
mind me
mellow.
asking.
I'm a super mellow person, sometimes to a fault, because being really mellow can you can get walked on a lot, and I have many times in like breeding boxers and showing boxers. But Darren was like the easiest guy and pretty much just like me. I just gave him my female and completely 100% trusted him because people kept saying, "Well, how do you know he's not keeping one of the babies and not telling you?" It's like I don't know, but I just have to trust him, and I can't let my mind go that way. I mean, I did trust him in the end. He gave me, I got like 6 lily whites. If he wanted to cheat me, he could have did it, but I got a lot. He was one of the easiest and nicest guys to do a collab with.
Good, good, good. I'm glad. Not that I would expect anything different from him, but I love hearing things work out like that because it's just we got as humans, we gotta trust people, right? We gotta work with each other. I mean,
Yes,
it
there's too much.
kills me when I
There's too
hear
much
people
drama
getting
and
scammed and ripped off. It breaks my heart because it's like,
yes,
for what? For
there's
what?
too much drama in the crested gecko. There's drama everywhere in the dogs, even in guinea pigs and rabbits
It
and crested
really
geckos
is.
too. There's drama. I just try to stay out of it because it's no fun.
This animal, I don't even know why I stopped here, other than it's I don't know what's going on here, but that
Oh,
the
because
large,
a lot of my things are
those are
videos. Sorry.
reels. No, not a problem at all. But this gecko is gorgeous.
And the reason I started doing reels and with on my hand, like a lot of people say, why don't you do more pictures like on a log or like a still photograph? It's because in the beginning, when I was selling reds, people were telling me that I was fixing
Altering
my
my
photos
phone.
and making the animals look redder or something. So I said, okay, then I'm just going to do them on my hand. This is my hand. So
People always just keep don't you take any bit of advice, and not that you have to, that I would say keep doing what the hell you're doing. Don't listen to
yeah,
anybody else. I mean, it's ridiculous. You have a great style, beautiful taste, incredible animals. I mean, your morals, your values, your ethic. I mean, everything about you is top notch. Like, this is why I believe, again, I was so drawn to you in your business. I mean, you put off a very positive aura. You have a very good energy.
thank you.
And that's great for the hobby. We need people like that. We need them,
100% agree.
right? We can't have this toxicity that's running
I don't,
rampant sometimes. It's
I don't know if you've ever done Palm Street. Some people hate it or some people love it or hate it.
I've watched a few. I
Um,
haven't actually registered. I
I
talked to
like to,
Veronica and registered, but I haven't done one. I'm like
I like
weird. I
to,
won't sell my animals, Scott. I'm like, I made them. They're my babies, and I give them to people that I choose. But
it's
like, I
hard, right?
can't just up and sell them. Like, I made these. I made their parents. I
Like if,
raised them. I took them out of the eggs in my hand. I just got a hard time getting rid of them.
If you go to my first post, my last, or I guess my last, the one that I just did this afternoon,
Yeah.
I just shipped those geckos to California today.
I think I
Sometimes
saw
it's
that earlier
really
today.
hard to send geckos away, and that was one of the really hard ones because
This whole
they actually
handful,
bought some of those. Like,
yeah, none of them
yeah,
would be leaving
they
my
got all three of
house.
those.
None of those would be leaving.
No, but to be honest, sometimes it's hard because like the top one, the red lily, that's 100% head
Yeah.
exanthic. But they bought that animal like 3 months ago, and I'm just now sending it to them. And honestly, like that's another example of a red that was I knew it was going to be bright red, but now that it is turning bright red, it was like, oh my god, like can I tell these people I don't want to send it to them now? But I like them. I like the people they're going to, and that makes it a lot easier.
So one person, the same person, bought all three of
Bought all
those.
three, yeah. And they didn't buy them all at
That's
once. They bought like I think they bought the lily white first when it was like 3 grams, and then they bought the 100% het on top. That one actually hatched during one of my lives on Palm Street, and when it hatched, they actually said, if you're going to sell that one later, can I buy it? So they actually have the video of when it was born because it hatched like during my life.
that's freaking cool.
And they just bought the last Frappuccino, I think, last week.
Gorgeous. All three of them are. I mean, if you say they were all males, you would never have to buy another male gecko in your life. Even if they were females, and you just
No,
have to buy one male. I mean, that is a business right there. That is a
that's what I'm.
foundation to a freaking empire right there in that hand.
That's what I'm always telling people when they see something like that and they say, "Oh, it's a male." I mean, I don't even know what they are. I didn't even sex any of them to be honest, and I don't sex most of my animals until well, on Palm Street, I'll sex them as I'm selling them. But the ones I'm going to keep, I usually don't sex them until they're older because I don't want that to
Doesn't matter.
persuade me to keep it or not to keep it. And
Yeah,
I always tell people, like an animal like that, who gives a shit if it's male? I would hope it was a male because that's much better. You
for
can breed
sure.
that male to like 3 or 4 females. If it's a female, she
For
just got one
sure.
shot.
For sure. For sure. I mean, and these are. I'm like, oh, I'm losing my words. Like that's how I feel about this hand. When I saw you posted it earlier, I was like, I mean, that's got to be a $10,000 hand right there. I mean,
And
that.
you see that, and you see the little one, the Frappuccino.
Yeah.
That's not even really red right there. That's an example when I was telling you when they're well, you have reds when they're born. They're kind of a brick red. That thing's gonna
Is he
get it's
red?
gonna
Will he
get
be
bright.
red? Is that from Red Lines? Is he going to be
It's from
red?
red lines, yeah. It's gonna get bright red.
Yeah, yeah. I can absolutely tell if you know reds, it's how they start that color fired that will turn into a very unique. I know exactly what it will look like. I mean, at least in my collection, when they're babies, they have a certain hue, but it always turns to this color later,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
different phases, shades when they're younger, and they go to a different color red. I've learned to be able to tell with, at least in my collection, which kind of red the babies will turn.
Kind of
How can you tell
surprisingly,
how do you, and I hear a lot of people talking about it, and I hate to sound like a retard here, but how can you tell visually that an animal's a het exanthic? How can you
I
tell?
can't. You
Oh, you
can't.
can't.
I only know that because the
The
genetics
lineage.
behind it. I only know that like that red one, for
Oh,
example. It's the father is Phantom Lily White
oh.
Exanthic. So
I thought people were just telling, because I always hear people say, "Oh, it's a visual het or a het or something," and I'm like, how are
how do you
people
know?
telling that it's a het freaking
Yeah.
exanthic?
So all his babies, if I breed them to a normal, all his babies that aren't visual are 100%. I
But you still
don't
need
have
two
any.
of them, right? You still
Yes.
would need two to have an exanthic.
No. You can breed a visual to a normal and get exanthics, and you can breed a visual to a 100% het and get exanthics. I don't breed. I
No shit.
I have stayed away from breeding to get the 50 to 60% hets because that's just frustrating to me trying to sell something that may or may not be exanthic or keeping
Yeah.
something that may or may not be exanthic. I'd rather just not deal with that.
Well, I commend you on that. I feel like it was done for a long time, though. Like I said, I've got buddies that are breeding animals that had no idea they were het exanthics, and exanthics are popping up. So they didn't know. But I mean, I commend you on honing in on the lines. That's a noble thing to do.
It's just that's confusing for me too.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. I'd
you
imagine
keep
so.
something and to breed it for 2 years to find out it wasn't what you thought it was. So
Sure. So what pairings what pair did these all three different pairs these babies here?
Yes, the two on the right are related. The lily
Oh, yeah.
white, the lily white, and the 100% het have the same father,
Okay. Okay.
and he's a phantom lily white.
Nice. When you how are you when you breed? So are you running groups? Do you run 1.1s? Do you
I
bounce a
have
male around to how many females? How do you
I
parent your animals?
I breed all 1-to-1, except I do have um two trios. One is my Dalmatian trio,
It's
and
funny.
another one is I have two trios. But most are all 1-to-1, and well, not 1-to-1. Most are all the females are in the cages by themselves, enclosures by themselves, except for the two that I have set up as trios. The males I bounce around from enclosure to enclosure,
You do.
like 3 to 4 females a year.
So when you do that, do you
The male
how
eventually,
do
like
you know when the
when it's
eggs?
not breeding season, the males live with a female. I
Yeah,
don't
mine
ever
too.
put them alone.
Mine too for
Um,
sure. My only problem is well, I've had problem in the past is like say I'll move a male around. I don't know when. I guess to be frank, the sperm of the new animal takes place.
I bring that up all the time.
Would you? How do
I,
you do?
I bring that up all the time with people. Like, how do you really know?
Yeah, how do
Because
you?
I've had females that they retain. You obviously they
Yeah,
retain sperm.
that's exactly my
Um,
point.
you can have females that you breed last year, and if you don't breed them early enough this year, they'll start laying fertile eggs from the male from last year because they
Got
retained
one
his
right
sperm.
now. She hasn't been with a male since before Christmas, Scott. She's still freaking laying. A clutch of her eggs just hatched the other day. She's still laying, this Lily girl. I don't know. She's by herself in a bin. Hasn't been with a male in 6 months.
So I always bring up to people. Most people don't agree with me or don't want to hear it. I think is you can't always guarantee me who the father is. You can always tell me who you paired her to this year, but how do you know? Because I have females that are virgins that I've paired this year, and it's already been 3 months and they haven't even laid an egg yet. So I know when they do lay eggs, it's going to be from the male they're with, but they're just taking a while. So there's other females that are giving me eggs already that I've paired with males this year, but they also laid eggs last year.
Yeah,
How do I know that when they start laying eggs this year, that they actually mated with the male that I put them with, and they're giving me eggs from the male from this year, and they're not from last year's?
exactly.
I think that happens a lot more than we think.
I'm
Um,
certain that it does.
I had last year, for example, I tried something Brian who mentioned to me, and I tried it. I had
Brian,
I had a lily white. No, I'm sorry. I had
that's a good
what
one.
was it? I had a female that was giving me eggs, and I had bred her to a normal male before. She gave me two clutches the next year. This is last year. She gave me two clutches with retained sperm. So I threw in a lily white in with her, and her very next clutch, when it did hatch, I got a lily white baby, which told me either she dumped all the sperm from the last male and she started laying eggs because it was a lily. It had to be from the new male. But I mean, you never really know that unless it's something like that where you can tell visually. Otherwise, how do you really know?
I've talked to guys that believe they have animals that have given birth from two different males at the
That
same
could be.
time. Like the clutch, each individual egg is from a different male. Now, how they know and their theories, I have no idea, but they're not dumb people, But
That could be because I was brought up the same thing with Brian Who. Okay, that first clutch that she hatched after I put her with a new male, one was a lily white. I knew who the father was. And then the other egg. I'm going to assume that came from the lily white also. It just wasn't a lily white. But how do I know that wasn't sperm from the last male from the year before? Who
I
knows?
guess we never will. That's
Unless you do
interesting. I
DNA
was just
testing.
curious on how you would tell. So when you say you're going to sell something like that, what would you just list it the father as one of two, or how do you go about that?
No, I just do what everybody else does. It's the male that I put her with this year. Unless it's something obvious that I can tell that it wasn't.
These phantoms, Scott, these things are freaking gorgeous, dude. Your animal structure, I mean, they are the total package. See, I always seem to either get the color I want and then the structure is compromised, or I'll get the
It's hard,
structure
right?
I want, but the color's not right. Like you are putting out perfection after perfection after perfection, dude. Oh my god.
Or maybe I just don't post the ones that aren't so perfect.
I mean, I suppose you could do that, but I
Look,
mean,
this male, that
Jesus,
male in the bottom left.
Jesus, Jesus. What is this?
That is
Which
a
one? This guy?
Yeah, I think he's only gonna be up for a second, but he's one of my favorite males this year.
I
That's when he
think
was a little bit smaller.
is he this guy? I was just looking at one and he's mind blowing. This dude. Who the hell is this?
That's Shockwave. That's the same one. I have some babies coming from him now. That's a younger picture. I have some babies
That
coming
was
from him
him?
now, and I'm
Really?
so
His
excited.
lateral pattern blew up like that?
Yeah, that
Wow.
one I had. You've heard of Floor Fauna? I went to Floor Fauna
Yeah, I've been there. I was at the
last
first
year
one and second
and
one.
I vended last year, and I was kind of shell shocked because I'm like around a lot of people. I'm extremely shy. It took me years to even try to vend a show, and the only reason I even vended is because
Sure. You have
Gabby
a
from
great
Morph Ministry.
personality.
I guess you
She's
know Gabby.
wonderful, isn't she? Gabby is one of the
She's like
greatest,
the
her and
best.
Brett are
She's
one of
like
the
the
best
best
sellers.
gecko. They're
Yeah.
like the best gecko couple because they're
Yes. Great
drama
people.
free. They're always
Great.
trying to get new people in. She'll do anything and help anybody that asks her. I heard so many wonderful stories about her. But anyway, I was friendly with her, and she was at West Palm Beach at a show on a Friday night, and she called me and she said, "You need to come vend." And I said, "No, Gabby, I'm scared to death of vending. I can't do that." She's like, "Please, I have an extra table and it's for you. I already have it set up for you. You're gonna come. We'll take you to dinner." And Miguel and I went, and I actually found out that I really loved vending. It was a lot of fun, but I felt like a homeless person because I had a whole 8 foot table. I took 20 animals. I had no tablecloth, no sign, no shirts, no nothing. Just me and 20 animals and deli cups on this table. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd imagine you were great at it. Again, you have an amazing personality. You're super approachable and friendly. You fit the bill. Like you make a perfect vendor. Someone can come up and talk about geckos or talk about life, and still walk away with an impressionable experience I don't know how to explain it, but it's
My
I'm
favorite thing are the
glad you're
kids.
vending.
Like
I'm
I told you
glad you're
before, to
doing
see
it.
kids that are into reptiles, I love it.
Me too. That's what I do it for. That's what I do it for. Everything I do is for our next generation. These kids, man. These kids. I don't. Not my kids. Not your kids. I don't care whose kids. They're all kids. They're our kids. They're the world's children. They're our next generation. We have to protect every child. We have to cultivate every child. We have to encourage every child. Like
Exactly.
it's for everything I do is for the kids I never had. I guess.
Yeah.
It's glad to hear that you feel.
It's kind of why I love Palm Street. I know Palm Street has ups and downs, but my favorite thing about Palm Street is that I was one of the original 5 people, unbeknownst to
Were
me.
you really?
Yeah, unbeknownst to me, when they were I was at Flora Fauna last year, and Jeff from Palm Street was at Flora Fauna because Gabby invited him to talk to him about bringing reptiles onto Palm Street. I didn't know any of
Okay.
this, so
She
nobody knew any of
did
this.
do
He
it.
was
Gabby
walking around
did
Flora
do it.
Fauna trying to figure out what people would be good as the first people to start on Flora Fauna or on Palm Street. Gabby called me one day, like 4 months later, and said, "Hey, this guy Jeff's going to call you about doing something called Palm Street. Just say yes, Scott." I was like, "What is that?" She said, "You're going to vend. You've been on Palm. I knew Palm Street because I obviously you can see
The
behind me. I love
plants, yeah.
plants. So I was on it for buying plants. And when the guy talked to me, I first told him no because I'm kind of introverted, and I thought, how am I going to talk to a phone on people that I can't even talk back to me and sell geckos? But I said yes, and I actually love it now because in the beginning it was not gecko people at all.
Yeah.
It's a plant app, so it
It's
was
a lot
hundreds and
now.
hundreds of people that just knew plants asking, "What is that? How do you take care of it?" And it was actually kind of fun because it's like all new people,
Man.
and it brought Palm Street has its downs, I know, but it literally brought hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of
What
people
do
into
you
the
what,
reptile world that wouldn't have never been exposed.
what do you think are some you also vet on Morph Market. What do you think are compare and contrast the two? How do you feel about the two Morph Market versus Palm Street? It's like someone like me. I could potentially sell, but I don't, and I think about it all the time. What are pitch the
They're
two
like
for me from someone that knows them
they're
both?
like two different animals. Morph Market, I would say, is better for something high end, um, but it's also a lot of it could be a pain in the butt. Um, it's you have people like me that are looking for something and I find it, I buy it. That's easy. But it seems like a lot of times Morph Market is also you don't know who the people are. You can't really talk to them just via email. And it seems sometimes Morph Market is you get an email, you answer back right away. And then 3 days later, they answer you back again with another question, and you answer them back right away. And 3 days later, they answer you back. And then after like 2 weeks, they finally say, "Let me ask my dad." And you're like, "Who have I been talking to this whole entire time?"
It's almost
So
dangerous.
Morph Market is a lot of, well, not like exactly that, but a lot of back and forth and people ghosting you. And I get it, but it's like that. Where so that can be a downer. The good part is most of the people, I guess, on Morph Market are more educated on geckos and are more willing to pay a higher price for a better gecko. Palm Street tends to be it. It is changing, um, but Palm Street was more cheaper side, and it was hard to sell $1,000 xanthic compared to like a low quality $50 or $75 tricolor. When in these people's minds who don't know geckos, that tricolor is prettier than the xanthic. You know what I mean? Because the xanthic
Sure,
just looks gray.
for
So
sure.
it's a lot of education and a lot of firmness standing behind your price. Like, okay, I'm showing you this $1,000 xanthic or $1,200 xanthic just to show you what you could have.
Uh-huh.
If you're interested, you can buy it. And eventually, sometimes people do buy them on there, so it's not all cheap stuff. It's just
Yeah.
it's an auction. So they're vetted through Palm Street, so their credit card information is already in Palm Street. So when I'm doing an auction and I put an animal up for 400, starting at 400,
Well,
people can
they're
either say
already
yes
getting
or say
charged.
no. So if you want it, you're gonna hit bid for 400. If somebody else
Money's
wants to
right
beat
there.
you, they'll pay 410, 420, 430 until it finally ends. And as soon as it ends, the money is taken out of their credit card and given to you for the shipping also. So it's no hassle. It's sold right away.
You get
People
the money
complain
right
that
away? Do they hold it? Is there any like
when
buffering time, or do you go just
when
go
you
right
first
to you?
when I first started, and I think it's this way still for people that just start, and because they don't know who you are really, um, they hold the money until the gecko is shipped and received by the person. So it depends on
Uh,
when you ship. It can take like a week or
well,
two
that's
weeks to
safe
get
for
paid.
the consumer. It's a little protection for the
It made
consumer.
sense, but now because I've done it for a while, and once not just me, but once you've done it for a certain amount of time, they pay me 4 days after the auction. So it doesn't matter if I ship the animals or not.
Okay.
So my auctions are usually Thursday. By Monday afternoon, I get my money.
So if you had to pick one and you can only use one, which one are you picking?
Palm Street.
Really? I love what they're doing. Like I said, I've talked to Veronica. I went through the whole onboarding thing and everything, and I never set up a show because I panicked and didn't want to sell my animals. But it was super easy. They reached out to me. Like I said, I didn't deal with Jeff. I talked to Veronica. She was super friendly,
It's
super
very nice.
easy to deal with, very, very pleasant. It was a very pleasant and personable experience from a arguably large company, right? Like they took the time to contact and deal with me, and I always commend them for that.
The downside of Palm Street could be, I see a lot of people complaining like I had a $200 gecko and it only sold for 50. Okay, my comeback is, why did you start the bidding at $50 if it was a $200 animal?
Yeah, why'd you sell it then? Why would you?
I mean, once somebody
That's
buys it, you're stuck. But if it's a
yeah,
$200 animal, if you're okay with starting a bid at 175 and hoping that it goes up, go ahead and do it. But
you
don't
gotta be
complain
willing
later
to take.
that the only person that bid won it
Yeah,
for 175.
yeah, you got to be willing to. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, hopefully people understand that
Sometimes
base.
the more expensive animals don't sell the first time. They don't sell the second time. It might take 3 or 4 lives before somebody buys it because, and you can't be upset with that because you have to have the right person who's looking for the right animal, and you happen to have it at the right time, and then they buy it. But the same thing happens with Morph Market. You can put a twelve
For
hundred dollar
sure,
Xanthic on Morph Market, and it might not sell for 3 months. It's the same
for
thing.
sure. How many animals are you selling? Are you producing and selling like an I mean, you got to be making some good animals. If you're vending, you're doing Palm Street, Morph Market, you're putting some animals out there, huh?
I sell more animals on Palm Street than I do vending.
Really?
And
Really?
weirdly, I've done a couple shows while I'm vending at a show, and I'll sell my expensive animals better while I'm vending at a show because that's where I don't always show my best animals on Palm Street. I'd rather put them on Morph Market or somewhere, but I do show sometimes on Palm Street, just more education to show people this is what you could have, and
Yeah.
sometimes they do sell. Um, But it's weird because when you're at a show and you list that you're at a show, I think more gecko people watch it, and so they're more willing to pay the money for the more expensive one at the show.
Huh. Interesting. How
Of
many?
course,
What?
I'd rather sell it at the show because then they can just walk away with the animal right
Yeah,
then.
for sure.
And on Palm Street, I have to actually ship it to you, but that's not a big deal.
For sure.
Shipping isn't as expensive as it used to be.
No, but it's still, for the
Process.
animal's sake, it's better. I'd rather
And
an animal walk off with a person any day than have to put it in a box. I don't care
yes,
if it's the best packed box. I would
that stresses me out
still
all the
rather
time.
put it in a person's hand. Or you tell them, dude, I trade more geckos than I do anything, right?
I
So
get so stressed shipping because
dude, it drives me nuts. Like I panic,
yes,
I overanalyze.
me too.
I build a box 3 times, take it apart. I'm like, it's
You
just
know,
almost to a point where it's not
Quincy's literally. I could walk to Quincy's house right now in 5 minutes, and I'm always texting him like, Quincy, what would you do? Because it stresses me out, especially being in Florida. You know, I get a lot of shipping from here to somewhere really cold all the time, and it's harder when it's like 80 degrees
Oh,
here,
it is.
and you got to use a heat pack because it's going somewhere where it's like 40. You know,
Sure.
it's
Exactly the problem. Exactly the problem I had. I was saying, you hit the nail on the head. It's a complicated thing to do. Seemingly works out well. Have you ever lost an animal during shipping? Have you ever had anything go south
one
on you?
time, but not because of FedEx. I had one time where it went to, I think it was Massachusetts, um, and it was kind of sad because I was shipping to a girl whose parents were buying her a gecko for a birthday present.
Aw.
She really wanted it, and they agreed to buy it for her. And um, FedEx delivered it to their house. This is in the very beginning when I wasn't doing to hubs, and it was going to her house. But the temperatures were fine and everything. But the FedEx driver threw it. Okay, her front of her house had like a front porch with a roof. He threw it from the sidewalk and it went up onto the roof, but didn't come down because they had arborvitae plants on both sides of the door. And
Hmm.
so it rolled into the arborvitae and stayed up on the roof.
Why
So
the
I get the
fuck would a
notification from
fucking guy
FedEx that it was
throw a box?
delivered. I got the notification that it was delivered. But then she called and then I text her, said, I hope everything's okay. I'm glad you got it. And she wrote back and said, I never got it, but it says that it was delivered, but I don't have it. I was going crazy because in my mind I'm thinking, is she lying to me? It tells me it was delivered. I called FedEx. They tell you the same thing that you see. Yes, it's been delivered. Finally, the mother called me and I said, do you guys happen to have a ringtone or anything? And they did. And I don't know why they didn't think of it before, but they looked at the ringtone, saw that when it was delivered, he threw it and then found it up on the porch, on the roof. But it had been like 7 or 8 hours and it was sitting on the roof of you know how hot roofs can get. It was sitting up on the roof and it died in the box.
That's a damn shame. Not that it matters, but was it a nice animal?
No, I mean, yeah, not that it really matters, but it was like $150 or something. But
It's a
the
damn
guy
shame. That's
he
almost
ended up.
disgusting to hear that they would throw boxes like that. I mean, literally, I mean, you can't put any more red, bold letters on there that say it's a live animal. I mean, to take a package and throw someone's goods anyway. I mean, I hope the dude got, and I'm not one to
He got fired.
ever wish bad on anybody, but I hope he lost his job. Like,
He did because I
fucking
didn't really want
terrible.
him to get fired. I just contacted FedEx and said, hey, look, here's a copy of the. They told me that it was delivered, and I said, here's the thing of the ringtone, and this shows you where it was delivered to. He stood like 20 feet away from the house and actually threw the box. And not only did he just throw the box, he threw it onto a roof. And you can see his reaction. He knew it went on the roof because he looked at it for a minute, well, 30 seconds or so, thinking it might roll down. And it didn't roll down. And you can see him just looking at it and he just turned on and walked away. So he could have at that point, like, went and knocked on the door and said, or even shook the arborvitae, it might have fell to the ground. But no, he just walked away and left it up there.
I'm having a hard time even wrapping that around my head. Like
Me too.
throwing, like you're a paper boy in the 80s, 90s,
Exactly.
70s,
It's exactly what it
throwing
was like.
boxes.
Exactly what it was like. Because I used to be a paper boy when I was a kid. And I was like, he just threw that like it was some kind of newspaper under the porch and he missed. But instead of like telling them he missed it or trying to fix it, he just walked away when he knew it was on the roof.
It only happened once, though, right? Thank God. I mean,
Yes.
it's water.
Well, now I just do hub to
Not
hub.
much you can do about that. Yeah, the hub.
Now I only deliver hub to hub. So
Sure do.
stuff
Beautiful.
can still happen though. But
Yeah, for sure. A lot less likely. Less traveling, less trucks, less transfers. I mean, hubs,
yeah,
for anybody out there watching, if you have the option to pick up or ship to a hub to hub transactions are hands down, without a doubt, the best way to send an animal via a shipping service. It's the safest, shortest route to go. Where'd you go, Scott? I lost you.
Whoops, sorry, sorry,
You
sorry,
hear me?
sorry.
Oh, there you are. Not a problem.
My phone didn't
So,
up.
what would you? I don't want to get too personal, but anybody can really technically look. Would you say your average price is for your animals? Where are your animals fall in the market? Where do you fit, like price wise? Where are your animals?
That's like a big,
Is it a
huh?
broad range?
Yeah, because like the Xanthics, and those can be like 12, 1,500. I can have, not all the animals are like the best quality, so I can have some that are like 50,
Not for nothing.
100,
That's good for you.
$100.
It's
But I
great to
guess
cater to the customer for sales.
most,
You have something to cater to everybody.
yeah, Palm Street's good for that too.
Mm,
I don't want to say they're wholesaley, but there's you don't always hit a home run.
mm. What would you say? And I don't. Again, I'm not trying to be negative, but what would you say some of the negatives of Palm Street are?
Price,
Just have
price,
more
and
of
you
a
just have to,
spontaneous, lower price type of.
yeah.
Well, that's not really.
Okay, the biggest thing that bothers me the most about Palm Street is not so much me and the pricing. It's more, and this happens everywhere. It's not just Palm Street, it's Morph Market. I saw today in Morph Market, some people had Xanthics, 100% Xanthics for sale, and they're not even Xanthics. I mean, I don't even know what they think they are.
No shit.
But you see people selling stuff, and they're labeling it wrong. They're calling it something that's not even
I see that all the time. People just
not
make
even
up whatever
close.
they want.
Yeah, it doesn't. I saw one of my friends was like, I want to get off. I'm thinking of getting off Palm Street because, and he took a picture on his story and said because of how people representing it like by this, and I was like, yeah, I agree with you, but that happens everywhere. That's on Morph Market. That's at vending at shows. You see all that stuff everywhere.
Sure do. I'm seeing a lot more
You
when
just have
people
to
are like
educate them.
flippers, when they buy animals and then resell them. I see a
Yeah,
lot. They'll just like make up these names like 6 line stripe,
yeah.
Phantom Jean, Kappa Capo. I'm like, what? It just sure. $1,800. Like,
One of
all
the last
right.
shows we're at West Palm Beach, we saw one of the vendors there had like a 10-gallon aquarium with like 8 or 9 super caps in it, and they all looked kind of horrible. And I was with Nicole from Going Geckos and Quincy, and we all walked to their table, and of course Nicole like politely kind of went off on her. More of an education, like, do you know what this is? Do you know why you shouldn't be selling these? And
Speaking
a lot
of,
of it's
have you
just
you
education.
work with caps, obviously, right? Or have you ever
Yes.
went down the super cap road? I'm always
No,
curious
I
to
haven't.
ask people what they observed.
No, I haven't. I have a
Interesting.
Lewistic, Lewistic,
Oh, you
Lewistic,
do,
but not from my breeding. I got it from somebody else just to kind of watch, just to see what
right?
happens.
That's what
And
the
so
only
far,
way I would want to just observe. What have
yeah,
you
and
observed? What have you noticed? Any
so far it's kind of normal.
really
Its snout looks normal. Apparently, what I'm reading now, there's not like a whole lot on about them, but it seems like most people say that most of the time they're fairly normal. Mine so far is fairly normal. One of my friends bought one the same time I did from the same breeder, and he said he thinks he might end up having problems later, but it's nothing right now. But I
interesting?
didn't even get it to breed. I just wanted to see the
What do you
process and
guys
see
think
what
it is?
happens.
What is that? Is it? I mean, what's going on genetically? Because it's very similar to the super caps. They almost look. Well, I guess some of these ones have more scalation, but they almost look like super smooth. They're trans. It's
Yeah,
got to be something allelic that's
I think so. Like we're breeding these animals into designing them how we want. They have. If you look at crested geckos in the wild, they don't look anything like the crested geckos we have now. They're much smaller. Their heads are much smaller. So we're breeding like with dogs. We've bred dogs into be like all these different kinds of breeds. We're kind of and a little bit going the same way with all animals are the same way. We're just breeding different varieties, and I think that's just something a little like with the super caps that um, like Dalmatians are known to be a little bit more hyper and to have smaller heads. Dillies have a problem with their heads. That's all like something that needs to be fixed with breeding. But the super caps, No, I think that's something allelic, and I think people should probably just stay away.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, it's proven. I mean, the muscle dystrophy, like I've witnessed, and not myself per se, but other watching other people's animals, they do have a odd way of developing and not developing, I guess, their muscle tone and definition. But I used to wonder, like, is it just because of their color that it's throwing our eyes off? I mean, take a good looking healthy gecko and turn them clear. It might look odd too, but are they? And then people started saying they were just dying, and I mean that's not normal. And I'm just
I don't.
curious, I
People just need
almost
to stay away. Just in my opinion, just stay away.
sure, yeah,
But
definitely
you
don't
even see
make.
people doing basic stuff like I got it at first with the super caps. People, it just happened in a few cases, and other people tried. Now we know enough to know that just stay away. But we still see the same thing with lily whites. Everybody knows don't breed a lily white to another lily white, but people still knowingly do it. And
Do they
I
really?
just, even I don't want to say any names, but even like a few months ago, there was something on a big breeder was breeding lily white to lily white, and even had a video showing that he did it, saying that nothing's happened, that his geckos, the ones that hatch normal. And I'm like, dude, a lot of those times those geckos don't even hatch because they're not born because of it's lethal, and when they do, a lot of times they don't survive. You can't. You've only had like three clutches hatch.
See,
This
I'm
is what
all
people have
for
been saying for 10 years
experimenting.
and don't do it.
I'm all for experimenting, but there's certain things you just don't do just because you know the outcome, right? It's not really
Yeah,
an experiment when you know the
that's
outcome.
exactly that's done. That's done past the experimental stage.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's like, why did you even post that online? Now,
yeah, yeah, you ain't lying. I don't. Uh, so with this leucistic, is that what they're calling them? Leucistic? Is that what it is? The white, the clear thing?
yeah,
What How are they making those? Who? Where?
I,
What's?
I don't know enough about them to even really talk about them.
Huh.
So
Very interesting, though.
they look
You
kind of freakish to me, to be honest. Um,
hmm.
but I don't know.
Huh.
I guess in a year we'll know a lot more than we do right now.
Right. This animal right here, I'm mesmerized by this gecko. Who is this? What's the story behind this girl? This girl?
Her name's Honeybee.
Honey Bee. Boy, oh boy. How many times have people tried to
She
buy her from you?
a lot. I didn't produce her. She came from Gabby from Morph Menagerie.
No shit,
She's out of
Gabby.
Petrie. Yeah, but she's one
Huh.
of my favorites actually.
Man, oh man.
I love
I've scrolled through the page up and down a few times, and I've stopped it
at
thinking
her.
different animals, and it's her all times. I mean, insane. What? This is another one here.
Yeah,
These colors, there's something just different about your animals. They have this
that was a young one, and it comes from
extra
a
to them.
pair that I call Nile and Nefertiti. Um,
Lyle and Nefertiti, you're going the Egyptian route, huh?
yeah, and they give me a lot of babies like that.
Really?
This year they have. I actually, and here's another one of my stupidness is I sold Nile and Nefertiti to Jennifer Wood. I don't know if you heard of her. I sold her
Not by name.
them to Jennifer Wood before I let the babies grow up, and then I started getting babies like this. I thought they were just kind of normalish tricolors, but I started getting like that, and
It's
I called Jennifer back and I said, "Look, Jennifer, I sold them to you as a pair. Is there any way I can buy them back from you?"
you sold
And
the pair?
I sold Nile and Nefertiti both to
Oh, I
Jennifer
thought you
Wood.
said you were selling the babies from the pair.
No,
Oh,
I saw that's one of my great mistakes, selling the adults before I let the babies grow up. And I
oh,
called her back and said,
man.
Jennifer, is there any way you'll let me buy them back? And she's like, why? And I said, I'm not going to lie. Look at the babies I'm getting from them because I didn't want to lie to her. And then later she's going to see my posts. It's because they're giving me these fantastic babies and she was generous enough to let me buy them back.
Really? God bless. I would too,
Yes.
honestly. If I bought something from someone and they didn't know and asked for their animals back, truth be told, my right hand to God, I would absolutely do that just because, I mean, it's a mutual respect, right? Like
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
those are good relationships to have.
She
Are
didn't
you,
even she didn't even question it. She just said, Scott, those are some fantastic babies. You can have them back. And she did. She
so
was
what do we
actually
have
just going to
here?
send them back to me and tell me to send her a baby. And I said, I'll send you a baby, but I'm giving you your money too.
Good. What exactly, oh, you even say it in this post. We got a frap and a lily sable. Now, what the
Right?
hell
And
is the difference? I own a
it,
frap. I have the cap gene and stuff, but I don't know anything about sable or anything like that. What is the difference? How would you be able to tell? I could not tell the difference between these two
Physically,
animals.
you cannot. That's why I made that post. Like, if you don't know the genetics or you don't know the person you bought them from, you would end up with something you didn't even know you had. Like the one on the left is a sable lily white, and the one on the right is a frappuccino. But physically, they look the same. But if you got the sable and you bred it to something and you didn't know that it was actually a sable, you would end up with different babies. And if you're using it for a project, you would end up with different babies than you were thinking you were going to get because it's not a frappuccino. Vice versa, the other way around.
I give you guys credit. They can. Would you be able to tell not knowing your
No,
lines? Really?
no.
Because I look
I
at
know
some of these
because they're
things and
mine.
I notice.
I know because they're mine. But if somebody saw them, if I saw them on somebody's table, I would have to trust the person. You know, most of the time you're not gonna see them so similar like
Oh,
that.
wow.
But that's why I made that post. Like, you probably can't even tell which is which on here, but that could happen.
Now tell us about Nova here.
Nova, I wish she was a better breeder. Um, she has fantastic color. She's one of my favorite females.
Did you produce her?
I did not. I I did produce her. I produced her with babies that I got from Scaredy Cat Geckos. I don't know if you ever heard of her.
No.
Um, but I love her. I love her coloring. I love her dorsal. I love the gold all on it. And she gives me babies that look very similar to her. The problem is she just doesn't give me a lot of babies. She's most of my females are really good at breeding. She's just I paired her 3 months ago. She gave me her first eggs like 5 or 6 days ago, but that's kind of normal for her. She like waits for like 3 or 4 months after I pair her before she gives me an egg, and then she'll give me like a clutch with like the first clutch she gave me had 2 eggs, but like last year she gave me like 2 clutches with 1 egg and 2 clutches with 2 eggs, and then she was done. So she's not like prolific.
How old is she?
She's not very. She's like 8,
Oh, really?
but she's not old.
I personally think that's probably, with as long as these guys live, I know
Probably a
people will
prime.
argue me. I think that's probably just about prime age, right?
I
Like,
think so too. So it's not old age. It's just
no, not even
I don't know.
close. Not even
Dogs can be the
close.
same way. You know, when I bred boxers for 30 years, most of the time I would get like a
Again, I'm
normal
back
sized
to this
litter, but then
freaking
once in a while
gecko
you'd get
again.
like 2 babies. It's like, what did that come from? And it always tended to be a genetic thing.
Interesting. This is what was his name again?
This one,
No, what
Drop
did
Your
you
Pants.
what's
You're
his
talking
name?
about the lily white right there? His name's Drop Your Pants.
Who
Is
did
that what
he
you're talking
come
about?
from?
The black lily?
He's got a head and a half, huh?
Yeah,
Did you produce him?
I did. And this year I bred him to
Look at
uh,
that. He's a
black
beautiful
cappuccino and
head. Really?
a black cappuccino and
Oof.
two tux line black caps. So I can't wait.
From
Hopefully I get some
Treehouse?
really,
Real
really dark
Tux? From
from
Treehouse? From
Treehouse.
Virginia?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I get some really dark fraps.
I'd imagine you will. I can't wait to see them myself. Make sure you send me some pictures too when you hatch them. Beautiful. I mean, your page is like, again, like I said, like one of these ones I scroll through when I want to see some eye candy. I go through like yours and Fringe Morphs, and I mean, you guys have a very, very, very different style, calendar-esque, if you will. You know, like I'm flipping through the pages of a calendar. Is this a pair here? Did you pair these two? This girl, is that that orange, that tricolor?
Those are both females. That's not a pair.
Okay, this girl right here is.
Yeah,
I
I have a
love
female.
that look. That's clearly a tricolor, right? They
The
classify it as
tricolor. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
female. A red female. Her name is Karma.
She's something.
That's her mother, and she gives me reds like her.
Really?
I have her. Her name's Sangria.
Huh?
What's that?
I see you're into the koi too, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Out here we have right behind me. Well, you can't see now. There's flower horn, koi, and on the other side there's 3 ponds: koi, flower horn,
I've seen those in your posts. The pool,
and cichlids. And look,
Wow.
Jewel. I don't know if you can see. Let me turn this real quick. Can you see?
Oh, there you go.
Can you see
I've seen them
Jewel?
on your page before, but
But can you see the chicken up here?
no, I
can't
heard it
even see her.
before though. You got a rooster, right?
Jewel. That's Jewel. Jelly bean. She's sitting up on.
That's freaking awesome. That's cool.
She usually goes with me to the gecko.
That's just your patio?
Scared. Yeah. Yeah.
My wife's family lives in Port St. Lucie. So my grandmother, like I said, my grandmother's still alive. My grandmother, again, is my best friend. And I can't leave, you know, but
Yeah.
when the time comes, Scott, I will be in Florida so fast. The airline
Where you at now?
got there. I'm in Connecticut.
I don't know why I keep thinking New York.
Well, right there. I'm like at the line. I'm at the line, the border of Connecticut. You know,
Are you going to
Connecticut
Florida?
and New York. I could be in, like I said, Florifauna's an hour and 20 minutes
Go. Are you
north.
going this year?
It's possible. If I don't have to work, I'll at least make it for a Saturday. You know, that's what I'm shooting for. I went the first year and the second year. I missed last year. Yeah, and I went the 2 years before that. So I'm hoping to. I'm just trying not to commit if I can't guarantee it. I don't like ever saying I'm going to do something and there's an option, a possibility that I might not. But I want to. I want to go up. I want to record a little bit for the podcast. I want to go
That'll be
talk
nice.
to some people, show some tables. I want to show flora fauna.
You can interview a lot of people there. That'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. Are you working with cat geckos?
I have one pair.
How do you like that? How do you like them?
They're different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only had them for 6 months, so no eggs or anything yet. But we'll see.
Is this your male over here? Where this isn't? This is a different. This is the male.
That's two different. That's a different pair than the one you used the pink one.
Oh, that's a Brian. That's a Susan animal right there.
That's from Brian. Yeah.
Not very many people have the collars that start at the back of the head and go down to the freaking middle of the back.
Yeah.
Very distinct. Have you gotten anything from them yet?
No. This is my first year for the Gargs and the Chewies. I paired them all. So far, I just got one pair of gargoyle eggs a couple days ago.
This is his favorite spot. This is my dude, by the way, Slevin. He curls up in my hood. Even when I'm out feeding, when I'm in the room, I always try to take an animal out. Because believe it or not, I have 200 geckos, and I'm always, before they're anything, they're my pets. And I genuinely love all of my animals. So I'll always take one out and try to be fair to the rest of them. And I feel like everybody comes to the glass and stares at me like I'm an asshole, you know, like they're not the one that comes out. So he's high. Like I feel like I speak for my animals, obviously, but like I'm like he's hiding because he doesn't want to get bullied later when the lights go off. So he doesn't want everybody to know he's out here. So he just hides in my hood. Yeah, I'm shocked.
And he's just being still because I don't think any of my Sarahs would stay anywhere. Well, my Sarahs, they're not even breeding age yet, and I just have 4 of them as well.
I want to see them. You know, people say that all the time, and I have a hard. Not that I can ever argue or debate what people say about their animals, but I have 3. I just only have the 3 that I have. They're all like they don't give a shit. They're just cool. I have even you know what a Halmahera gecko is?
Yeah.
People say they're like super flighty. Don't get them. You can't handle them. Impossible to hold. They'll throw their skin at you. They'll drop their tails. They'll run away. You'll never catch them. I got one before people were telling me this, right? Like I didn't know any of this until after I had gotten one in a trade. I traded someone a crested gecko for this gecko that they had acquired, this Halmahera gecko, and I think they have really cool feet and cool tails. So value meant nothing to me. I gave the kid what he wanted for him, you know, let him pick the crested gecko he wanted, and I took the Halmahera. She's like sometimes I wonder if she's alive. Like she just sits there. She never tries to run. She eats out of my hand. Coolest geckos in the world, man. I mean, like personality wise, I don't know. I guess any animal can be flighty, right? Crested geckos can be super flighty. Anything can be flighty. Is this the same male? Yeah, right?
That's the same one.
I love them when they're fired down.
Me too.
I think fired up is cool, but in my opinion, like an animal's true beauty is when they're like dead gorgeous, fired down.
Yeah.
This one again, this guy. Jesus. That's
I lost him.
What is that?
I didn't tell you my whole story with him. I took him and his brother to Flora mainly because I was so excited. Him and his brother looked exactly alike, and I wasn't sure which one to keep or both. And I took him to Flora last year because I vented, but my intention was not to sell either one. I just wanted to see what people thought and which one Gabby or some of the other breeders thought about them and which one they thought was nicer. So I took them, and I was vending next to Tara Lee, and I showed some people them, and then I had them on my table just for people to look at. And when I went there, I thought, I'm really probably not going to sell much here because I'm not that well known. I'm not like a big breeder compared to like AJ and Gabby and Brian Hu and um, White Tank and Tara Lee. I'm surrounded by all these Gecko today. I'm surrounded by all these people, Altitude Exotic, and I thought, okay, if I just sell $2,000, I'll be happy, and it'll make the show. I just came here really to like expose myself, just to meet all these people. Really, I didn't really want to sell, but I wanted to make enough to pay for my plane tickets and vending and all that.
Sure.
Tara Lee made me feel so good because she bought his brother. She just like walked over and said, "I heard you say you're not selling those, but I'll give you 2,000 for that one right there." And I was like, "For real?" And she's, "I haven't bought a gecko off of anybody for 8 years. This will be my first one." And I was like, "Okay."
Put him in that in the gold standard Gecko Club competition, and I'll pay the fee. I guarantee this gecko wins. I'm dead serious. I guarantee you he wins.
I thought about it, but I'm breeding him this year. I still might think about it. Um, Ironically, he has the same name as the one that won last year, and I keep laughing about that. If I took him,
Shockwave, right? Where is
right?
he?
Yeah, and that was by a weird coincidence because he was born actually before and named before this. I knew the other Shockwave that won last year.
There's no
But
way he doesn't win something. There's no way in hell he doesn't win something.
but he was like 50. You know, most of my animals, I hardly have any problems when I breed them with them losing weight or anything. But he's one that did. He was like 52 grams, and now he's like 42 grams.
Go to freaking
From
damn
my
near
eye,
35.
in my eye, I'm thinking, okay, if breeding stressed you out that much, I don't know. I don't know if I should put you on a plane to fly you up there to show you.
If it's just a horn dog, though, it's probably a good thing. You should probably put him into a few different females.
I did. I put him with
Really?
3 this year. I think no 4. I put him with 4, but one hasn't laid any eggs yet.
Dude, keep me in mind if you get any babies like that. That's something I would, I don't buy many geckos either.
Uh-huh.
That dude, I don't even care about breeding him. I just want him. Like,
Well, I
wow.
have the first set of eggs hatched from him like a month ago, and so far they're looking like they're going to look like him.
Like, what is this? Is this like, does he have a gene? Is that a white spot gene? What the hell is happening here?
I don't know, but I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, man, imagine that. Imagine that's a gene or something. You found a new, because that's crazy. It goes from his dorsal, it's on his lats, it's on his, I mean, that's spotting in
Yeah.
bullseye style spot. That's one of the most unique animals I have seen to date. How old is he?
2.
He's still
A little
gonna
bit.
change. He's still gonna pop. That's nuts. You're all of them. I can literally, like, you make art. Now, not for nothing. I know you explained that Art Deco, and I obviously am a carpenter. I know what it is and whatnot. But when you say the name, I automatically, it's like synonymous with art. Like you're making art. Your
Yeah.
geckos look like paintings. They look like they were, and I'm dead serious. And there's a couple people that do, like fringe morphs. Like you guys make these animals that look like they're digitally created. Like they're just in your face. What's this? This is gorgeous too.
That's another thing I'm into, yellows. I really love yellow. I love that kind of yellow with paper white.
Yeah, I don't. Is there a special name? I mean, you think I would know, but what is this? What kind of yellow are they called? It's not quite like a tangerine. It's like, what do you? A hypo
It almost
yellow?
looks like,
What do you?
I say it's like a citrus yellow.
Citrus, because it's not that dirty. There's like a few different types of yellows, and this type,
Yeah, I don't like
especially with
that.
the white. But I've noticed when they're this
I like
color yellow, the white is always super white.
Yeah.
So that's why if it's like a hypo or something, there's something making that. Do you produce animals that look like this often?
Yes, I produce that one.
All right, we're gonna talk because I don't have anything like this in my collection, and I have
one's
tangerine stuff, and this is almost like a tangerine without the dark base. Like this is nah.
That one's named Cinnabon. I'm waiting for eggs to hatch from him.
He's a beast too. He's a tank.
Yeah.
Healthy animal. Look at the head. I love how you make your animals. They have, again, they have a look, a very, very stout, healthy. We have, again, like I said before, a very similar taste. Is this a pair?
That is. I'm going to tell you to show me the other one. No, those are
seriously dope. Who's this one with this
they're not
crazy?
A pair. Seriously dope. I got from Cryptals before they kind of disappeared. Because its name was like for 2 years Cryptals before I actually gave it a name. Seriously dope. Opie I produced.
That's a stunner too.
It's just really funky color.
Very cool. All right, so Damn, it's almost 2 hours. See, talking to people like you gets dangerous. What's the plan? What is your plan for Miami Art Geckos? What do you want to accomplish? And what would you say some of your 5 year goals are? What do you have planned for Miami Art Gecko in the next 5 years?
It's hard to even like figure out 5 years, because the thing with crested geckos are becoming more and more like leopard geckos. When I first got into leopard geckos, to be honest, I'm not a I'm not a genetics person. I don't understand them that well.
Yeah.
Um, but when I got into leopard geckos are confusing with all the hets and everything. It got kind of confusing, and crested geckos were more simple, but crested geckos are becoming more crazy with all the hets and all the different combinations that you can do with all these hets. It's exciting and crazy at the same time. And for me, it's better because I kind of got into it when the time when all these hets started popping up. Whereas when I got into leopard geckos, they already existed, and I felt like what the hell's going on? I don't even, or at least now with the I understand it more with the cresteds, because I'm getting into them now. So it's hard to say what's going to be in 5 years, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of different kind of morphs and a lot of different kinds of combinations. But I think the future is kind of going that way of the hets. It's not just exanthics. It's not just tricolors. Not just phantoms. It's the combination of all these things. You can combine a sable with a phantom, and all these things stacked up. It's all the stacking.
So, but what are some of your goals for your business? Like, where do you want to grow? Do you want more animals? Do you want to vend more shows?
I like vending. It's hard. It's hard in Miami vending, because I'm kind of at the southern tip for the shows. I'm like 25 miles south of Miami. So
Ah,
the closest show I have is once a year they have a show in Pembroke Pines, which is like 45 minutes. That's close, but it's a very small show. Um, West Palm Beach is an hour and a half, and that's the next biggest closest show. But then after that, it's like Orlando, and that's like almost 5 hours.
that's a
So
true.
it's hard. They're hard to, and they feel like Tampa. Their show's over in Tampa also. That's like 5 hours,
How far
uh,
would it be to Daytona for you?
like five and a half, 6.
Oh, so it is exactly. Have you ever
No,
vended the Daytona show?
yeah, I vended Daytona last year. Weirdly, I did horrible, um,
Really?
but I had a lot of fun. Daytona was bad for a lot of people. It seemed like last year. The weird thing is, Gabby had called me and asked me if she can put some animals on my table. Of course, I'm going to say yes, because she did that for me. So I had 2 tables. I vended with Mark, and I I think I sold 2 geckos for $100 each. They were 125, but somebody bid me down to 100 on the last day for each one. And Miguel's like, "Why?" Miguel sold like, I want to say like $600 or $700 in shirts. He did way better than me selling geckos. And I had like 20 geckos from Gabby on my table, and they sold so fast, like right away, because she had already told a lot of people that she was going to have animals, and they were on my
Okay.
table. So they sold really quickly, but it also pushed me more in the direction of fixing my game. Like, I saw her animals and the caliber of them, which was I was always striving for like that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but it pushed me more into thinking harder about who I breed what animals to. That always gets kind of difficult for me, because when you sit there and you try to figure out like which female to breed, which male to, and how to go, it can get kind of confusing. So
Who
for
were
me,
you talking to about the pictures? I was just listening to you on a
that was David, I
podcast.
think.
Was it?
That was David. That helps me a lot, because my mind can get
Yeah,
frazzled. So I take a picture so I can visually see it,
that's
instead of sitting on my
brilliant.
couch thinking of, okay, Nova. And I know what Nova looks like, but then I'm trying to think of all the males. But it's better if I have a
I
picture.
think that's
I
a
can pull up
brilliant
Nova,
piece of advice.
and I go through every single female with a picture, every single male I have, and look at it. And then each male that I think I could breed with her, I write it down on Nova. So when at the end of the day, I'll have maybe like 4 or 5 males written by Nova's name. And then eventually I just start crossing them off, and it helps me.
It's one of the
I'm more of a
greatest
visual
things.
person,
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it myself because of you
but
saying it.
I can get kind of crazy. It used to be that I would just sit in the gecko room and stare at a
Look
female,
around.
then walk around and look at the males, and I would say,
Yeah,
"Okay,
I
it's
know.
going to be your day." And I mean, it was a little bit more thought than that,
No,
but it was harder, because after I would pair them, then later I'd think, "Oh, I forgot about this other male. Why didn't I think about him?" It's or this other male had genetics that maybe doesn't look like I want to breed it, but the genetics behind it would match with.
Yes.
But now it's all right in front of me, and I look at it and I say, okay, it's easy.
I
I'm
think
more
it's a
visual like that.
brilliant idea. It's again something that I've taken from you that I'm going to use because again my mind changes so much daily that it
Yes,
just I know I could be making better decisions, right? And I'm just panicking. I'm thinking I'm making a good call, and I nah.
and
It's
it works because last year was one of the first years that I'm mostly happy with all my pairings and most of the babies that I'm getting, and it was because I organized myself.
good. Good. If we're not always progressing, then what are we doing, right? Like we have to continue to evolve and continue to learn, whether it's our collections, whether it's the hobby, whether it's ourselves. We need to always be learning, right, and making adjustments.
Yeah,
It's
and I
real
always tell
quick.
people all the time on Palm Street, you have to. It's not always about buying the cheapest stuff, but it's about not just breeding ethically, but breeding the best you can because there's a lot of breeders out there. There's a lot of us. And there's a lot of us that are doing like a lot of wholesale. I don't think we need like a lot more people doing a lot more wholesale crested geckos. The market's already kind of flooded. Good breeders are good, but try to breed the best you can, stuff that makes you
Oh yeah,
happy. Don't buy a $20 gecko
quality over quantity
and
for
expect you're going to make
sure,
a lot of money in a couple years from it.
for sure. When you mentioned the show and only selling the two geckos, it randomly ran through my mind that reptile shows might be in danger. Reptile shows, with the technology that we have today and all of these online platforms and traveling and packing up and all that comes with someone like yourself that would have to pack up, say, 100 animals. You got to box up 100 animals, cup them, transport them, worry about stressing your animals out, drive 5 hours, set them all up to try to maybe sell them, then go back and unbox what you haven't. It almost, for someone that genuinely cares about their animals, right, and their well being, it almost makes more sense to not go to that show and sit at your house on Palm Street and sell those same animals and show those same animals to people in a less stressful way. It's cheaper for you, no travel, no stress. Yes, you still got to cup some animals up, but there's probably not nearly as much prep involved as there is traveling 5.5 hours. Almost in my head, real quick, I had this thought that technology might put the reptile show as we know it out of business. How many
I
people are going to continue to go to shows that you just went through to go through all that to make $200 when you could sit on your couch, hit a button, and make 200 in one sale doing nothing?
Exactly. I 100% agree with you. And that's one of the downsides, I think, of Palm Street. Um, Not just Palm Street, but I'm sure there's going to be other people coming up with platforms just like that. Um, that's one of the downsides. It's it makes it easier for me to sell animals, but the downside is I kind of like the interaction. I like
For
vending. I
sure.
like it's not like I can 100% vet for somebody when they come up to me and I can educate them and I know they're going to give it a good
Sure.
home. I don't know that, but I feel safer knowing that I'm selling something to you and I'm talking to you and you're
Mm,
listening to me as I'm selling it. Where on Palm Street, people have these names that are flipping by really quickly and they're buying an animal. And I say repeatedly in the Palm Street, as does everybody else I see on Palm Street, do you know how to take care of them? Anybody can pop on and buy an animal, and I don't really know where it's going. So that does bother me a little bit. So I do like shows better, but I have heard many vendors say what you just said, that they're not going to vend as much because it's much easier.
Reptile shows are going to have to evolve. The promoters are going to have to evolve and almost turn them into, you said you used to show animals. What are those things called? Like not a farmer's market, but like you would go to a fair, like they'd have all the animals and people aren't there to sell the animal. They'll sell products or whatnot, but, you usually go there for the interaction. People are showing off their animals and it's not really about sales, I guess. It's kind of like a fair, I guess. I don't know what
Yeah, yeah,
farmers, not even a farmer's market, but like what I'm saying? The promoters are going to have to start changing up their style if they want to keep in business and start doing different things. Because just having an event where you can go to buy animals isn't cutting it anymore. because you could do the same thing from your couch for even buying and selling. It's not cutting it. They're going to have to start doing something.
That's why I like vending. That's why I'm still going to Daytona again this year, even though I did shit last year. It cost me a lot more to go there. Can you give me 1 second?
Absolutely.
My neighbor keeps texting me, and I'll tell Miguel to tell her. She
Absolutely.
knows I'm here, but I think she's thinking like that I'm lying. So her texts don't stop popping.
You ready to go back in the cage, Goopins? That's my dude Slevin. He's the man.
And
All those light and Sarahs out there.
she wants me to come over.
Snuggy my ass. Hold your animals. Handle your animals.
I might have a meeting tonight, but I'm still doing this, and I think she thinks I'm lying. I'm saying hello.
Are you
still doing that?
All my hair is that calm. Everything I got is that calm. To be quite honest with you. Crested geckos are probably the craziest geckos I keep.
Okay, sorry. Her text keeps popping up.
Everything good, she all right?
No, she's fine. It's just I'm president of the homeowners association, and I hate associations.
Oh, it's cool.
I hate
associations.
That's why I am, because I know this isn't part of the geckos, but 15 years ago, when I bought my house, I asked permission to put a fence on the side of the house, and they gave me permission and had the letter and everything. And then like 12 years ago, I got a letter saying I had to remove it because it was illegal. So I went to the meeting saying, look, and at the meeting, there was like a lot of people that were really angry, and I really didn't give a shit. I just wanted my fence to stay there. And she was telling me it was illegal. And I'm like, but you signed the paper that said that I can have it. And I spent like $3,000 doing the permits and all this stuff, putting my fence up. She was a pain in the ass. And then the guy that owned one of the guys that ran the management company came out after and told me and my neighbor, the one that keeps texting me, that we need to get her off the board because she owned the management company. She owned the tow truck company. And if anybody had one tire in the grass, they could tow them. And of course, she was making money. She owned the landscaping company that cut the grass. So there was like this big conglomeration. And I was like, damn.
It was a little conglomerate.
He told us we had to walk around and get like three-fourths of the signatures of all the people that lived here. And there's only 198 people. So we said, oh, what the hell? Let's just do it. So we did it. And we went to the annual meeting, and there was hundreds of people there. And I had enough signatures to get her off the board, and I never thought past that. I just wanted her gone because I wanted my fence. And
you take the
that
throne,
was like
then you kick her off first?
No. And then when she was gone, they said, okay, we need to have a new president. Who's going to be the new president? And they all looked at me, and I was like, eventually I said, okay, I'll do it for 6 months until we find like a proper president. I don't want to do that. And I've been for 15 years.
Well, hey, I'm sure you make a great president if you've been there 15 years. What exactly do you have to do? What are like some of your responsibilities?
All I did was fire the management company, fire the tow truck company, fire the landscaping company, hired like a landscaping company, and I don't tow anybody unless their car is parked for like several months on the grass, but like totally on the grass. I don't really care. Just make your house look nice in the front, and we can all be friends.
Okay. You know, people spend a lot of money on their homes. Do they really need somebody in some HOA screaming at them, telling them?
No.
I've seen videos like from people in Florida, like with people that are part of those communities telling people they can't wash cars in their driveway.
Crazy, stupid, right?
Or do something like
it's stupid.
Where I live, and I'm not trying to say we're different or better or worse or anything than anybody else. We're all humans, right? We all have the same rights. We're all humans. We all deserve the same respect. But imagine somebody telling me I can't wash my car in my driveway. Like, it's not even funny because it would never get to the point where I'd have the chance to laugh at it because it's just something that's out of this world. Like, you're going to tell me I can't wash my car in my driveway.
But it's a stupid rule. Like, the neighbor directly across the street, his son, who's 19 years old and in the Army, bought some truck that is kind of ugly, but it's in his driveway. And he, the father, keeps coming to me and asking me if I'll send him a letter saying that he has to get rid of the truck. He's your son. I don't give a shit what kind of car you have in your driveway. And dumb things like people knocking on my doors that their neighbors are having parties. Like, you need to call the police, not me. I don't go knocking on people's door telling them you're having a party. It's too loud.
So what exactly do they make you do? Do you have anything like you have to do?
No, it's just I'm just supposed to make sure people keep their house up to code and it looks nice, but everybody does.
I'd imagine.
I don't look in people's backyards because that's not my business. They used to like tell me about stuff in my backyard. It's like, my fence is 6 feet high. What are you doing looking in my backyard telling me?
You guys have a pool?
No.
Really?
No, but we own a pool company, right? No pool.
Well, I guess that's probably why you don't own one. Are you in a community? Does your complex have a pool, like a common? Yeah. I wouldn't want to deal with it either. Yeah. If you have one, like it's my grandmother growing up as a kid, we had one, and that was like the one chore that I used to hate on a Saturday was having to skim this damn pool, clean this damn pool, and sit there and shock the pool, put all the chemicals. Like it's fun for you. Let's just say this: we did more work on the pool than we spent in the pool.
I have, in 15 years that I've owned the pool company, I think only a handful of time have I ever seen anybody in their pool when I get there. Nobody uses their pool. I
It's
guess
one
if
of
they
those.
move here from like Pennsylvania and they move to Florida, they're probably going to use it for a couple weeks, but it just wears off.
I'd rather
And it
be
just,
at the beach. I'd rather be in the water, salt water, to be honest with you.
I think it just becomes a big chore
Exactly.
and an
Exactly
expense.
what it is. All right, so we're coming up on 2 hours here. It's probably close, the end of this episode. I would love to have you back and talk about anything. You're a great guest, great
Now that I'm
conversation.
more comfortable, I have no problem.
That's what
I
I'm
was so
saying.
nervous.
You do great. You need to have more confidence in yourself. You're a great human, dude. You have a lot to offer. Honestly, you're doing great things with these animals. I mean, you are literally producing some of the most beautiful. I see thousands, Scott, thousands of geckos. People send me pictures. I'm looking at them. I see thousands of animals. Your animals, without a doubt, stick out like boom. I mean, and that
I
that
had some
that
good,
should be
I had some
something.
good mentors in the beginning. You know,
Yeah,
I
I'd
had some good
imagine
mentors.
so. I'd imagine so. You're again. You're doing incredible things. And I think that whoever you're listening to or whoever you're not listening to and whatever you're doing is something you need to continue to do, because you're onto something. You're producing some incredible animals. Again, I think your whole energy and everything you're doing for the hobby is something that I wish everybody would copy. I wish everybody was as nice, humble, polite. Everything that you do, I genuinely wish more people would do. And I'm excited to see some of the stuff you're producing, man. I really can't wait to see, what you got coming this year. You're one of those breeders that keeps, the hobby in suspense, if you will, like Steve Early or, even Gabby. Like, what are you guys going to put out next? Like, I keep saying fringe morphs, like there's these certain pages that everybody looks at to come out with the next.
He's one of my best friends in the Geckos.
Huh?
Early, Steve. Well, Richard. I don't know if you know Richard is the one that does the Geckos. Early, he's one of my better friends.
Oh, really?
I've been to his
I
house
asked
many
him to come
times.
on the podcast. I sent him a whole email.
He won't do that. He won't do that.
Didn't even say anything. He liked the message, but never even responded to me. I was like, all right, I don't know.
I'll bump him. And here's the thing with him, Steven. They're partners, Steven and Richard. Um, Steven is American, speaks English perfect. Richard is Asian, and he speaks English perfect, but he doesn't think he speaks English perfect, so he's afraid of. I'll beg him.
So who am I
He's
talking
really
to
good.
when I
He
sent an
knows his
email? I
knowledge
thought I was
from it.
talking to
He's
Steve.
like Steve is his partner, but Steve will always answer because
So that is who's
Richard
talking to me then.
tells him what to say because
All right.
he's afraid he's going to say something wrong. But his English is good. But Richard's mind is like Quincy's genetic wise. Like you can I tell Quincy all the time, I wish I can like hardwire your brain into my brain because
Right.
I know what looks pretty and I know how things work, but you just like blum 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 like.
Believe it or not, though, I think Quincy is. He's almost too smart. I don't want to say he's too smart for his own good because that doesn't make sense. But he's a good teacher, right? But he's like he's so smart that it's complicated for other people, right? Like
I always have to tell him what did you just say to me? Like explain that like in English. Can you tell me what you just said?
Yeah, he's very, very smart. I mean, and no offense to any other guests that I've had or have, but he's probably one of the only ones that made me feel flat out stupid. Like when I had him on, I was just like,
I get like that with him too. But I tell him right away, like Quincy, I feel stupid right now. Tell me that in English. Like, what are you talking about?
like, just teach me, just talk. Don't let me ask any questions. And just talk and let me pick something up here. But
I always joke like I see you working like on Wall Street with computers. Your brain is like brilliant.
Right,
you're talking to me about geckos like on stocks. I don't understand what you're saying.
That's how I see him in front of like 3 computer screens all curved out in front of him.
Yeah,
coding or like pennies trading stocks and shit. Like he's Quincy is one of I bought my first animal. Well, my very first crested gecko, I wound up buying from like a marketplace listing. I just wanted a pet. Somebody had this crazy little bright orange thing, and I bought it. But when I bought my very first quality animal or money animal, and at that point it really was only like $250, I bought it from Quincy. And then my second one was from David from Tiki's Geckos, you know, and I'll never forget it, you know what I'm saying? But my point is, that was probably 8 years ago, something like that now. 8 years ago. You know, Quincy was the first one that I bought it from. So I've watched him, followed him for over all the years, and eventually had him on the podcast. It was one of those cool moments for me, I guess. Well, I guess yeah.
I joke with David. Why did you put Quincy before me? Because now I look really stupid.
You really don't, though. You know, it's good.
No, but you know what I mean. He's more.
Yeah.
He can like
absolutely
explain things.
Not for nothing, but Quincy's in a very different group. He's in a very small group. Like he's those scientist keepers. Like he's one of those type. Most of us are out here. You know, you're above me, but I'd say more people, not for nothing, are more like me than they are like you. Like we see pretty, right? We see pretty. We see good, bad. Like we see certain things. Like you're into those elite morphs, the sables, and the exanthics, and all that. I'm around here with the regular shit, you know, just trying to make cool shit with the regular shit.
Quincy tells me stuff about my animals I didn't even know.
I bet.
And I also run stuff by him, like, Quincy, I have this female with this picture, and I can breed her to this. And he goes, why are you picking that one and that one? Do this one. Or one that I wasn't even thinking of. And it's like, oh, that makes so much more sense. But I didn't come through my mind.
You have the stock. Again, if I could literally go through all of like the top guys, and yes, you are up there, top guy wise in the hobby, and I could pick any collection, dude, it'd be hard pressed to not take yours, man. I'm like that.
Thank you.
I don't lie to anybody. I'm too rude to lie. Too rude. I don't give a shit about people's feelings. I don't care. I tell the truth. I would. And right now, I can't even think of a collection that I say that I would possibly take over yours. You have the most diverse gene pool, the biggest collection of structurally sound animals, right? Like you don't have animals with poor structure. Every one of them is you can't say is not perfect. Like I mean, you could have animals with bigger floppy heads, but personally, I don't like that flop. You know, so to me, when people say, you know, you could have a bigger head, like, I mean, there is a too big to me, right? Like, I don't necessarily like that flop stuff. I like that nice diamond, pointy, full. I like a look, you know, and
I always laugh that when they start getting too floppy,
yeah,
it looks like they're stoned.
Right?
They just look like a stoned gecko.
Permanently sad, yeah, I just, and I get it. People like them, like, no doubt. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to like, and I'm definitely not knocking anybody's animals. If you like it, that's all that matters, you know? Literally all that matters. But again, back to what I was saying.
If we all like the same stuff, it would be really boring.
Yeah, for sure. Glad you said that, for sure. For sure. That's what makes this hobby so great and so much different than other reptile sects is because of that. We have the ability to cater an animal to our individual preferences, right? Like you can't do that with everything. We could tweak an individual species to 100 different people's individual preferences. You know, now that's amazing and quite rare, to be completely honest, when it's talking about animals in general. I mean, yes, you could pick dogs, right? But it'd be hard to get one breed to look 100 different ways without there being something genetically wrong, right?
Exactly.
Canine wise, yeah, we can all buy a different breed.
I'm always getting questions from Palm Street people now that have watched me for a while, sending me pictures like, do you think I should buy this? I don't know. Would you buy it? It doesn't matter what I would buy because no, but that doesn't mean, but if you like citrus yellow stuff, then buy it. It's not my thing, but that doesn't mean you have to buy. What about the pricing? Do you think that's worth it? It's $800. The price is what you want to pay. So
sure.
if $800 is too much, then don't buy it. But if that animal's worth $800 to you, it's not to me. Of course, I might show you this one that's worth $800 to me. It might not be for you. So the market is what it is. It's what you want to pay, and it's what you want to buy. And everybody's different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's again, if I could give any advice to the masses, I've said it probably 5 times already, but do what you like. Don't worry about what anyone else likes. If you like it, if you see an animal and you're like, wow, gives a crap what anyone else thinks, right? Like people get so caught up, and I mean, I guess it's just human nature, but we want gratification. I guess we want people to okay what we like.
Yeah.
This
Yes,
is
exactly.
America. If anything,
I'm always telling on
we
palm
get
street
the
too, because I'll get a lot of people that says, "No, I want to buy from you because you have 35,000 followers." You can buy followers. Just because somebody has 35,000 doesn't mean you're a better breeder than somebody that has 500. For example, Emily Burke. Do you know Emily Burke?
love our animals.
In my opinion, she probably has one of the, because she has what I like. She has some of the better crested geckos, in my opinion.
Sure.
But she has really no social media presence at all. Um,
I met her
so
up in Flora Fauna, and
me
yeah,
too. I love her. Um, so my point is, just because somebody has a lot of followers doesn't mean they have the best geckos. Some of the people that have the best geckos could be somebody that has 200 followers. You just need to look around, search, see what you like, and buy what you want.
facts. If you find, even like yourself, right? Like I bet, you could talk to some people and show some of the incredible animals that you have to people. They're probably from breeders that nobody hears of, right? Like I talked, with Dave, and I talked to a lot of people, and it would blow your mind. Maybe not yours because you're one of them, but these people aren't buying animals from these other some of these other fancy big name breeders. They're buying them from people you never even heard of. They're buying them for these people that have a collection of 30 animals that have been
And
honing in on a look for
they
10
can have really,
years.
really, really good stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's one of the biggest misnomers in the whole thing is that only good animals come from big names. Name means nothing. A social media and a presence and all that. Like I commend the people that do. I'm glad for you. But your social media presence is not a reflection of your quality of animal. Like it's not in
I
my
tell people all the time, you can buy followers. I could buy followers. And a lot of my followers came from a viral video that had nothing to do with crested geckos. So
really.
it's just, it was like a toy crested gecko, but I got like a couple thousand followers just from a toy, which annoyed me.
What'd you do with it? I don't even know if I saw the video. How would it?
It was a couple of years ago. It was just these little toys that I got from Etsy of a crested gecko, and I made a video of it, and suddenly I got like thousands of followers. Same thing happened with Brian Hu.
Yes, I saw his.
I mean, I like to think that I have good
Taking
animals,
the terrarium.
and I like that I have a lot of followers, but you could buy them, or you could just get lucky. It might not always be because you have, doesn't mean you have the best stuff.
Have you found that having more followers does good for your business? Have you made more sales? I mean, it's obviously more exposure, but have you been able to directly link your followers to your sales?
No, not really. It's like the algorithm on Instagram is weird. So I sometimes I can have like posts for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row have like 400 or 500 likes, and suddenly like for like a few weeks have posts that have 50 likes. So I don't know how that algorithm works. I'm not a technical computer person. Um,
You try being me.
but
It's not even anything I care
my
about.
sales always kind of, me neither. My sales always kind of stay the same.
Do you make sales on Instagram?
No, but I guess it's the exposure that makes people look at Palm Street or Morph Market or something.
Sure, for sure. Do you have a website too? Do you have a website?
Yeah, kind of just working at it. It's MiamiArtGeckos.net.
.net. Are you building it? Are you developing it yourself?
I'm not a computer person. Miguel's doing it.
That's awesome.
So
Is,
it's
is he
it's
good at it?
new.
Is that what he does? Is he good? Is he like a
He's
tech?
good. He's good at designing stuff.
Yeah.
He's like a computer. He's like a kid with a computer. You know, like you can have something wrong with your iPhone and hand it to a 10-year-old and they'll fix it because it's like hardwired in it. He's like that.
Same.
I mean, he's 57, but he doesn't like seem like it because computer stuff, he'll figure it out in a second.
That's awesome. I wanted to make one for the podcast because we do 3 different podcasts under the Gecko Exchange Network. We have 3 different shows that we run, and I've always wanted to build a web page just for upcoming shows and feature our guests and post all of our guests' information, like your website, maybe like a headshot picture and all your information and stuff. And it's something I want to do, but it's intimidating. Like I haven't done it because I have a hard time sending pictures via text message. Like it's just not. I'd rather be in the woods stomping through a mud puddle with my dog and playing with a pocket
Oh
knife.
my
Like
God,
I don't
you sound just like me that way.
see.
Like I can't. Like we're in Pennsylvania, we went hiking all over the place, but sitting down to a computer trying to. I'm always telling Quincy, how do I? He's like, no, send the picture another way. What other way? Like sometimes if you send a picture on Instagram, it disappears when you look at it once.
Yep.
He's like, send it the other way. It's, oh, Quincy, can you just come here and take your own picture?
Yep. It's also super cool having him next to you, man. I love seeing relationships like that, where two breeders that in any other world would be considered competition can work together and just be stronger. You help him, he helps you, you guys network, bounce ideas off of each other. You can, confide in someone. You have, an intelligent mind with similar information. You can kick it's awesome. That's so great. And
No.
another thing that I think you do well by leading, as said, by setting an example, is showing openly. You show people with your relationships with people that you don't have to view anyone else as competition, right? Like these are friends and fellow foes with a similar hobby. Like we don't need to look at each other
I
as
know technically it's probably competition, but we're all in it together. And we all learn off of each other. We bounce ideas off of each other. We breed our animals with each other.
Sure.
I frequently go to shows with Nicole from Glowing Geckos. You should have her on your show one day. She's a blast. And Corey and Kate, but they do mostly spiders and gargoyles. But it's kind of cool to have good friends like that you can actually not just go to a show together, but we vent together. Like we'll have like 6 tables all right together. So it makes the show more fun than, if I want to walk around and vent a little bit, Nicole will watch my table. And if somebody's looking for an animal that I don't have, it's like, check right over here, look at Nicole's, so we're good that way. And it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. They let you share tables. I was told one time that, or maybe I saw something that someone had some tables at a show and they wanted to share a table with another vendor and they wouldn't let them. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
A lot of times one of us, like for Scales, it's coming up in West Palm Beach, I'm buying all the tables. A lot of times Nicole will buy all the tables and then we just share tables with her. At Daytona, I bought all the... Daytona was confusing because Wayne... I love Wayne. I don't know how he does it at his age, but I paid for all the tables, but they had to send in their own paperwork for their table. Just so that we could all be together. Because we could do it and just be like there together, but it's more fun when you're all like right literally together.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if I want to walk away for 10 minutes, it's hard. I can't leave. But Nicole, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to the bathroom, watch my table. Or,
for sure.
It's just more fun that.
For sure. Have you ever, and I know, I'm sorry I'm keeping you so long, Scott. This is really a great conversation. I literally so happy we did this.
It's this or a homeowners meeting, and this is much more.
Have you ever had anyone take anything from you? Are you guys doing anything? The only reason I ask is because in the last month, I've probably seen like 5 or 6 different posts about animals that have went missing. Are you doing anything and taking precautions? Because I have some ideas, but taking any precautions to keep anyone from taking anything other than having anyone at the table? You guys thought about using like wireless camera systems?
Miguel did.
Awesome.
Miguel did. And I've never had anything taken, but I have seen like posts like that.
Yeah.
Miguel worries more about that than I do. Not that that's wrong. It's just my brain is more. I'm more. How do I say this? Because neither one is wrong. I always trust people and think people are more honest than what they really are. General people in a show. I know people walk around and steal stuff all the time. I've seen the posts. I don't know that it's ever happened to me. I don't think it's ever happened to me. But Miguel was more of a watch that person, watch this person, watch this person. They're gonna, and he's more like watching for somebody stealing. I'm just more standing there having fun.
It's unfortunate.
But he has put up cameras in the last show in Orlando. He put up a camera.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that
And actually, one day the camera worked, and the other day it didn't work. And I asked him, then why don't you take it down? He said, because people see the camera.
Yeah, I was just going to say, even as much as putting up a sign that says there's a camera filming or something, So I've been going to the, have you ever heard of the White Plains Reptile Show? Tara does it a lot. I grew up at that show. I've been going there since the 80s, that reptile
Ryan, who
show.
does that all the time?
Civic Center.
We do that like once a month or something, right?
Oh, yeah, a couple times a month. I think I've been doing it twice a month now.
Because I keep joking with Brian, who it's like every other weekend you're at the White Plains show.
Brian's
Terry.
always there. Boris is always there. A bunch of cool people are always down there. But for the first time in all my years, I just saw a post of something went missing from the White Plains show.
Wow.
And that shit broke my heart because my whole life I've been going there, and it's always been a bunch of people from my area that have been honest, just good old, respectful people that, and now to see that, I'm like, the whole thing's going to shit. Like, the whole thing's going to hell. People are taking everything. Why vend?
I saw, I don't know who it was, a post just like a few weeks ago, somebody vending a show, and they had, like, most of my geckos are on the table, but I do have like one of my display cases, that's like the tier, and I'm the one that leaves it open all the time, and Miguel's always locking it. But um, I saw somebody vending at a show that had their geckos on the table in those tier things, but they also had a big plexiglass
Oh,
that
really?
went like 6 feet high, and I thought that looks so like I don't know because
Very
nobody could
convenience
nobody
store-ishy, right? Like a
yeah
convenience
because
store.
nobody could actually catch the geckos or pick up the delis and
Kind of kills it, right?
yeah I thought God like how does that even work because I don't think I'd want to even buy. I understand, but
It's
I can't
standoff.
even like pick up the animal
Way.
and if I wanted to, what are you going to do? You're going to have to hand it over the thing. It just seemed like kind of weird.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not a
is that
good
what it's
idea.
coming to? Are we going to all have to do that one day?
It's not a good idea. So
No,
what type of displays you put the cups on the table? But how do you display your tables? What are you using for a setup?
I have a couple ways I do it, and it's always kind of different.
Okay.
I actually have like three of those tiered things. I usually only take one, and I use that. And if I just have one table, I don't usually do big tables because Palm Street, and it seems like the shows are a lot more quiet. Um, so I'll put some in the more expensive ones in the tiered thing, some other ones on the table, and then I have something from oh my gosh, I feel ignorant now. I forget who it was, but they made me Gecko Harmony. They make the tall things. It has like a
Okay.
platform on the bottom and it's tall, and
Yep.
you can put like the cups.
Uh-huh.
And it's cool because it visually makes your table. I know when I used to vend and I had like everything just flat on the table,
Yeah.
it's not visually appealing, and I understand that people are drawn to like pretty things, not even just the geckos, but they're not even going to really
Truth.
stop by your table if it doesn't look
The truth.
appealing. So when I use that, and it just I get more people to stop at the table,
It's the
and it's
truth.
cool because you can put like 15 geckos on a stack that's only this high, and it's just different. And I usually use
Your
that for like my
step
leopard gecko.
displays. Are you loading those before you go to the show? Do you put the
No,
animals in and then carry the whole thing in? No.
no, I,
I
I
always
load
wondered
them
how
at the show.
people did that.
Now I do see some people where they keep them in there, and then but I don't know, it just doesn't look. It just
No.
looks. I don't want to say cruel. It just doesn't look as nice as putting them in a deli cup. I know a deli cup isn't that big of an improvement, but I don't.
Do you clean throughout the day? Like if an animal
Yeah.
shits in a thing, you clean and do all that. What do you put in your deli cups? Are you using like a saucer liner, or do you use paper towel?
No, I use paper towel because the saucer liners look visually they look nicer. I like how they look. But for me,
Bring more stress for the animal though, nowhere to
yeah,
hide.
when they poop or pee on the paper towel, it's like it's more absorbent
Yeah,
and disappears more. Plus, they're always like messing up the paper towel so the poop can get like on the paper towel, like can get covered up so they don't step in it as much. And it seems like the deli cup liners are much visually more appealing to, but when they poop or pee, it's like just gets stepped on and smeared all over the place.
for sure. Hey, it's a different lifestyle, that vending thing. I mean, I don't think people understand how much work really goes into it, you know? I
It's a
mean,
lot of work. It's a
breeding
lot of
animals is like the easy part, right? Like all this
yeah.
other stuff to build these empires, like, this brand that you have built. Again, I give you a lot of credit, man. I mean, because it's not easy. If it's easy, I guess everybody would be doing it. And I don't, it's again, God bless, man. It's awesome what you do.
Thank
All right, so now we're coming up on the end here again. We'll see if we can pull this off here. Um, Again, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a total honor and privilege and blast having you on here. Can't thank you enough. Is there any announcements that you would like to give? Do you have any shows you may be attending? Any
No, we're going to
projects
Florida.
you're working on, you want to pitch, anything you want to promote? I just want to give you the chance if you have anything to promote.
No, I think we pretty much talked about everything that I'm doing. We're going to Florifana in May, but we're not vending. We vended last year, and I wanted to vend this year. I actually was going to vend, but my dad's touch and go right now, and so we're gonna go. But he's at the point now, like we were there last week, and it's even hard for him to swallow. Anything can happen anytime, and I don't want to be stuck at Florifana with a bunch of geckos and then have to go to my parents' house and worry about the geckos. My first priority would be my dad. So I'm gonna go to Florifana and just hope everything is good with my dad. We're gonna go see him. We just went last weekend. We're gonna go next weekend. So, and then the week after that, we have the show in Orlando. Um, that's always fun because when we go to Orlando, we always go like a day early. So usually we'll go like Thursday morning, and I'll do if I'm gonna do a live, I'll do a live like in the hotel room. The one, the like the last time we went in December or January, I was joking that the show in Orlando, our Palm Street was like an what's it called? An OFan? No, what's that thing? OnlyFans show
Wow.
because I couldn't get the blinds to close in our room. We just had like those sheer blinds that you can see shadows through it, and we had like the O-ring light over the bed because there was no table, and we're doing the geckos on the bed, and we were joking because outside of our room was like tables where people were eating dinner in a courtyard. So there was like 8 or 10 people sitting out there whenever Miguel and I walked in carrying 2 boxes and the O-ring light, and then we turned off the lights in the room because it looks better with the O-ring, and had the O-ring over the bed. And we're laughing like, what are all these people sitting right outside our window that are watching our shadows over the bed? How many of them are thinking it's an actual gecko show? They probably think it's like an OnlyFans thing
Right?
going on in this bedroom.
When they're recording a freaking.
And then we'll go to like Universal or Disney for the day.
Well, it's awesome.
Friday, and then go to the show Saturday or Sunday.
Very cool. It's cool you get to turn this. It's awesome. It's awesome for you guys to have something to do together. That's awesome. It's awesome in life to have things to look forward to, right? Like it's a beautiful thing, man.
It's like a trade-off because Miguel's not really into the shows too much. Although lately, the last 6 months, he's really starting to like the shows, and it's more because we're doing it with Nicole from Glowing Geckos and with Kate and Corey from Rogue Exotics, and they're a lot of fun. So he ends up having a lot of fun just even sitting there.
Cool.
And it's like, okay, we'll go to Orlando, we'll do a gecko show, and we'll do a Universal. We'll both be happy.
Awesome.
I mean, I like Universal.
Right? I haven't been there in years, but shit, I would love
this year, in 2 weeks when we go, they have the new part of Universal open, Epic Universe. So we're gonna go.
I keep seeing it on TV, showing the little bits and pieces of it.
Well, you can ask me about it in a couple weeks.
I definitely will. When are you doing your next Palm Street?
Tomorrow.
Are you really? I won't have this out by then. Shit. I'll make a post though, and I'll make sure I share it too. I'll share it and I'll send it out in all of our pages, our Gecko Exchange pages. I'll send that out, and I'll be there.
I do most Thursdays, but I'm kind of getting low in animals right now, so I might skip a few. Plus, with my dad, who knows? But it's most Thursdays.
So you did say you're going to stop and see him while you're up at Florifana, right? You're going to stop and see your father on that trip? Can't
Probably
be too far away,
unless
right?
something happens, but hopefully nothing happens. But I'm going to go the week before, and I'm going to go the week after.
How far away is he from there? From New York to PA? Probably a couple hours, no?
Driving is probably like 6 hours.
Oh,
because Florifana's like western place between Johnstown and
too well, but
between Johnstown and Altoona. Altoona's where Penn State is. Johnstown's where they had all the flood. It's in the middle of nowhere. My parents' town has one traffic light.
What's the racetrack? I know where the track. I've been to where the track is. Allentown.
That's where my sister lives.
Poconos,
that's like
Poconos,
4 hours from my parents.
The Poconos.
Yeah, that's like 4 hours from my parents.
4 hours?
4 hours from.
Oh no, shit.
Allentown.
So Pennsylvania's big. Yeah. Well, I wish you the best. I honestly, I don't know what to say with your father's situation. I just hope everything goes the way you want it to, right? And
yeah, there's really nothing you can say. I just appreciate it. It's just sometimes life sucks. This is one of those sucky times for me.
hate seeing bad things happen to good people, man. It really, I just wish I could
Right? Don't you wish
take your
sometimes you could
pain or
fix
something. I
that? Like,
wish I could do something for you, you know. I just hope it goes well for you, Scott. I genuinely do, man. And
yeah,
again, I wish you nothing but the best in life in general. And everything you do, I wish you nothing but the best, man. You're a great human. And again, it was a pleasure having you. For everyone out there that's watching, you guys got more followers than I can ever imagine. I can't imagine any of you don't know who he is. But God, if you don't know who he is, go follow, check him out. Palm Street, Morph Market, Instagram, all your social media platforms. Great human. Hope you got to see the man behind the scenes. I hope you guys feel a lot more comfortable. Should you have had any questions, maybe making a purchase, this is the man. This is the man that you're dealing with. Complete, genuine, honest, real, sincere person here. Support him, guys. Support him however you can. You know, this is what this is all about. We got to lift each other up, man. And nothing better, no one better to help out and support than good people. He's one of them. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Again, check him out. Follow Miami Art Geckos, guys. Check out his website, miamiartgeckos.net, right?
.net. I always mess that up.
Check him
Every
out.
live,
Let's see what
Miguel's
he's
like
got going
.net,
on.
.net.
Let's show him some love, guys. All right, Scott, I'm going to hit the end button here. Just hang around for a second. We'll shoot the shit behind the scenes for a minute. Again, can't thank you enough. I appreciate you so much for coming on here.
Thank you. I appreciate you for even having me on here. And love all you guys out there.
And check out his other episode with David on Tiki's Geckos. Him and Quincy did a great video, all three of them. Scott's got a story to tell.